push him off. He's calling for it. This is it. This is it. Your career's on the line here. Do it. Do it. His place will erupt when he picks him up. He's got him up. Oh, hell yeah. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. We've got a new heavyweight champion. Climb the ladder, kid. Make yourself famous. I just had an out-of-body experience. What did we just see? What did we just see? He got him in a power slam. He got him in a power slam. He got it. Simmons got it. Simmons has won the match. Simmons is a champion.
I've always maintained that reality is for people who can't face drugs.
Shit is about to get real.
You get to see your knee. Shit.
Look at the stare of the champion against the challenger.
What?
And now, Straight Talk Society presents Wrestling with Reality.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
It's going to be the biggest battleground in the history of our sport.
The biggest match in pro wrestling history.
The two biggest superstars in our sport in the biggest event the sport has ever seen. The biggest match in the history of our sport.
Trying to run a little scalded dog here. Enough is enough. That's enough. No! Oh, God, that's enough! Stop it! Man, listen. It's tougher than a $2 steak. Who is your daddy? Who's your daddy, Undertaker? Slam! Toe slam! Who's your daddy, Undertaker? Lucifer's lips are the biggest size in the WWE! Somebody stop this! Somebody stop the damn man! Enough's enough!
What?
The irresistible force meeting the immovable object.
It's getting real. Woo!
WWE Dynamite.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? It's time. Let's rock.
I can't do it. We'll do it live.
So to escape from reality?
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
I am reality.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Oh, it's live, pal.
Let the slaughter begin!
It is now time for
Wrestling with
Reality.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Junior, look at this.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Number 1, to be the man, baby! You have to beat the man! Heavyweight champion of the world. The time is now. Reality has become the present, and the final lesson of the pain game has begun. Have you ever heard a joke like that in your life?
You are gonna wrestle my ass for the world title. You will have to kill me to keep me from killing you. Woo!
The 90s have been referred to as the reckoning with truth. In the 80s, everything was clouded. Nobody ever told the truth. In the 90s, the way to go is flat out. Tell no lies. That's the way we're gonna do it. When you hear something from our lips, truth it may be, and as much as it may hurt, you can count on it being exactly the way that it is.
We want the gold, sucker! Hulk Hogan, we coming for you, nigga!
Oh, what is up, Straight Talk Society? This is your host, Trevor, and I'm back with another episode of Wrestling with Reality. Hopefully, you guys will understand that this is the best wrestling show on the internet. Ricardo, let me know if you can hear me. Shout out to Bones in the building. Shout out to Hassan Tahir, peace to Ricardo, peace to Tequila. My co-hosts, Venkat and MD, will be with us shortly. Venkat let me know that he was gonna be he was gonna be a little late. Hold on, I can't hear myself. And I always got to be able to hear myself. Hold on. All right, okay. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I need to be able to hear myself. Tonight we will be reviewing episodes 1 and 2 of the Vince McMahon documentary, the Netflix Vince McMahon documentary. And also we do have something else to get into, but depending on what time these guys show up, because we don't want to be here too late. But let me clear something up real quick. First of all, if you haven't, you guys need to go check out Tate Fist Politics from last night, man. Banger of a show. And I noticed something on that show. That whenever I get on the panel to rile Venkat up, you need that sometimes, where you can get Venkat to get out of his shell, where he's not just moderator guy. He gets out and he's telling me I'm a baby and all that stuff. He get all riled up and everything, because I know how to get under his skin. So that's really, really good, man. Fantastic Tate Fist Politics last night. We could go all around the world with this and argue about this, whatever Obama said, if it was right and stuff like that. And MD is joining us. MD had a bunch of stuff to say last night. But I just thought it was a great show, and obviously you guys did too, because the overnight viewership was really, really high for the Tate Fist Politics. So I do appreciate you guys checking that show out. And please make sure, MD, what you got coming up on the Thought Box on MD Live? What you got coming up?
Yeah, peace. What's going on? What's happening? I mean, my schedule's so crazy, man. Everything is spontaneous with me at this point. I can't call it, man. I mean, hell, I'm sitting in traffic right now. I don't know when I'm gonna get back. So I don't know. I may do a show Thursday if I get the opportunity to do it. But I think that topic is important.
Very.
And it needs to be expounded on more to get a clear view of like exactly what the issue is as it pertains to the gender aspect of it, because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Again, small number, but that doesn't take away from the importance of it, though. I'll never do that.
Peace to Narubin in the building. So what I do, I want to touch on two things. So I want to get, and I know it's the nature of the show. It's what we do. It is what we do. So I want to make it clear, because I don't think people notice about me when they hear me talking on Tate Fist Politics. I am Team Kamala, but what I'm not going to do is just turn a blind eye to the Democratic Party. And I think that's where we have the disconnect a lot of times, which is why I kept asking Venkat last night, is his loyalty strictly to the Democratic Party? And he eventually answered. So I'm not just a guy that's just going to bleed Democrat. I am Team Kamala. There's no way in the world I'm punching Trump on the ticket. But at the same time, I don't think any of them are any good. So that's what it is. So when we're on these shows and you guys hear me bringing up these talking points, it's not to say, oh, let me totally dismiss her. That's not what I'm doing. I doubt I even mentioned her at all last night, but it does bring it does need to be addressed that you had to go get your big brother to fight your battles. Because Mike brought up a fantastic point, man. Like, you probably gonna be the commander in chief, and you ain't gonna have nobody that you can fight for, that can go fight for you. I trust Kamala because she's inheriting Biden's Biden's presidency. So this literally just gonna be a transition. She's gonna continue with what Biden's been doing. And tell MD, you can tell me if I'm wrong. she's going to inherit what Biden's doing. I don't see any problem with what Biden's been doing. So we're going to have a smooth transition. So at least I know she has a plan, but she's also inheriting a plan that is proven to work. Trump, on the other hand, is basically flying by night. So when you guys hear me on Tape Is Politics and I'm like bringing up these questions, I'm bringing up these questions, one, to piss off Venkat. It's always to piss off Venkat. But secondly, is because I don't want people to say like Tape Is Politics is strictly a bash Republican show, or the Straight Talk Society is strictly a bash Republican show. We want to hear both sides. We came from a place before we started over here that was strictly Republican, and you bash everything. I don't ever want it to be that way over here. You got to hear both sides of everything. So when you guys hear me saying certain things, it's never to you never heard me crap on Kamala. What you did hear me do is crap on the Democratic Party. And a lot of it is because I know I can say things that'll make Venkat not just push the buttons, but get him riled up. Go listen to that show last night. He was in full form last night, telling me I need to he doesn't chew food for me, and any cliche he could have came up with, he was pushing it out on me because I bring that.
You're a trip, man.
I bring that out of him. I want him to just be like, I want him to do that. When he does that, I'm telling you, y'all saw the numbers on the show last night. The viewership was steady. It never dropped. I don't know what the hell is going on with Twitter, but it never dropped. And the overnights prove it. Like Venkat is more than just a producer and things like that. But I know how to push his buttons. When I hit him with the "I love you" and he would not respond, there you go. I'm the ultimate troll. You know what I mean? So listen, I'm Team Kamala. I've told y'all from the beginning, I am Team Kamala, but I would piss on the Democratic Party if I can. I don't care for the Democratic Party. My values line more with Republicans just because I'm conservative, but I can't be I can't be a sane mind person and say, oh man, Trump is going to take us into the future. That's why it killed me last night, because when I got off the show, my battery died. So I went back and listened to the show today, and I'm listening in the closeout, and Venkat like, oh man, because Trevor, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, y'all have to understand what I'm doing. Like you have to understand what I'm doing. All I do is raise the other side, because you can't just be one-sided where you're like, okay, everything is bad on Trump. Hell, if I would have been able to listen to the end of the show, I would have came back up and asked Venkat, well, has Trump done anything good? Anything? And I wanted to ask Venkat, did you cash any of those stimulus checks? But again, I heard
Trump only did one stimulus.
I heard it after the fact. The first $600 one was from Bush. The second one, so you're saying the $1,400 one, that wasn't Trump?
No, that was Biden. And you know why it was 14? You know why it was 14?
I feel like I got that in 20. I feel like I got that during Trump's administration, because you know why? Because his signature was on the check.
Nope. He only passed the $600 stimulus, and then Biden said we're going to do 2,000, and then as a compromise, when they were negotiating to do those bills that they were passing, they deducted 600 from 2,000, 14. So that's what they did.
Yeah, man, y'all go back and listen to Tape Is Politics last night. I'm telling you, and nothing makes MD feel better when he could prove me wrong, because when MD came back with that number and he was like, nope, and he gave me the real number, oh man, I could just feel the aura off of him. Like, and again,
but it sounded wrong.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, 98% just sound that sounds ridiculous. But I do want to ask you all this because like I said, peace in the Ruben, man. Shout out to Adam Kane in the building. I do want to ask y'all this though. Before we get into the show, you guys, because you guys stressed it a lot last night. Like I said, I went back and I listened to the show at work, and you were like, the black male voters really don't matter. So even though it's an all-out assault on black male voters, in the grand scheme of things, I can't remember which one of you guys said it, but you were like, it's the female voters that's really going to matter. So again, exactly. I ask, why is there such a all-out assault on the men?
Because the optics don't look right. The optics doesn't look right.
Yeah, I never said that the black men vote don't matter. I said the rhetoric that's being displayed as backlash toward what Obama said was a low number. That's what I was saying. Of course, the black male vote matters. I'm telling you, the majority of the black male vote don't care what this controversy is. That was my position last night.
Adam,
and that's just a fact.
Adam Khan saying, "Who's going to take down Gunter?" They want this wrestling time.
Hey, I get it.
MD Ricardo saying you the one who said it.
No, I didn't. I never said that.
I said that. I said it doesn't matter in the context. When you look at the women vote, is going to be the black women are going to really be the one that really matters. They can waste their vote. It won't matter.
So we know. Well, again, I mean, and when we're going, all right, we're gonna get into the wrestling thing, but this.
Yeah, let me just say this real quick. Like when you're in your house, your home with your family, and your mom or your dad said, "Man, go clean your room," and you're like, "I can't stand this place. This place sucks. I'm going down to Billy's house." And Billy's house, the dad be raping the kids and stuff like that. So that's like the Republican Party. You complain about the Democrats, but your outlet is like going way off the deep end to something that ain't gonna be better or ain't gonna support you right. Again, last 50 years, what did the Republican Party ever do? When Ronald Reagan is their best example of a president, right? And the black unemployment was over 22%. Right now, Joe Biden, 4.8, record low. Again, what has the Republican Party ever done? And the fantasizing of Republicans, right? And like we're getting about the parties. And there were switches that were made throughout the decades and the centuries and whatnot. And the people that you're saying, oh, Reagan, I'm sorry, Lincoln freed the slaves and all this other crap. The transfer of the thought process of the people that were in that party, they left the party. The people that left the Republican Party at that time, back in the 60s, they went to Democrats. It's not about Democrat or Republican. It's about liberal and conservative, progressive, and whatever. It's not about the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, because they switch. The racists in the Democratic Party back in those decades ago and centuries ago, they got pissed off because they helped out the blacks, and they're like, we don't want to deal with this party, so we're going to the Republican Party, and that's all it was. The party name is the party name, but the actual people. When you talk about why do you have a weekend? Why do you have a 40-hour week? That's progressives that did that. That's not conservatives that did that. And the parties changed over time. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter which party it was, is what people within that party did that. So you got to be able to credit where it's coming from. You're never going to get poor worker stuff from the Republican Party. It's just not who they are. And I just don't understand. Like, they've done absolutely nothing. As far as economics go, again, Bill Clinton said, since 1989, 51 million jobs. 1 million was made by Republicans, 50 was made with Democrats. Again, what are we talking here about? So you have to make a hell of a push to even make the Republicans a viable option. And it's ridiculous. It's like you're Michael Jordan versus a paraplegic person. It doesn't make sense. The Republican Party has to build up themselves to be better than what they are. And when people are giving them handouts and saying, oh, yeah, all this racist talk. Look, Donald Trump just said Haitians eat pets, eat cats, eat dogs, eat ducks. Then 2 weeks later, he's telling people about hurricane relief, blatantly false lies about it. This could cost people's lives. So he went from one type of lie to another. And we're going to reward that kind of behavior. They stormed into the Capitol and they tried to stop an election that was legitimate and overturn it. And we want to reward that. You got to hold them accountable. If Barack Obama would have done any of the things that Donald Trump would have done, had like 3 ex-wives and cheated on one to go to the next, and have strippers and porn stars and all this stuff. If Barack Obama would have done any one of those things, it would be over for him. So why are we so flexible with letting those things go, and we run right into obvious lies when it comes to the Democratic Party? It's a hard sell for me, man. It's a hard sell for me.
Fifth Politics Tuesdays.
I was just about to say, and there you have your Wrestling with Reality Tape Fist Politics crossover. See, but the chat though, Narubin says the only way Kamala will win is if she won't support Israel and the genocide in Gaza. She can't.
That's not true.
She can't use a fear of Trump anymore. We know what Trump's presidency looks like. Adam Khan says, like I said before, I believe in people, not institutions. Trump is, Adam Khan said that. Yeah. Narubin said Trump is the most pro wrestling president in history. Hey, everything revolves around wrestling. Speaking of wrestling, let's get into let's try to make the hard pivot, pause, and get into.
It's not that hard because these guys are similar.
before we get into the Vince McMahon documentary, and we're just going to review episode 1 and 2 because that's all I saw, 1 and 2. Before we get into that, I do want to bring up something that went around. I didn't even notice this happen, but so the PWI 250 came out. That is the top 250 women wrestlers in the world, according to PWI. PWI has been doing this forever. So this is their criteria: the win-loss record, championships won, quality of competition, major feuds, prominence within a wrestling promotion, overall wrestling ability. So remember that criteria. Now let's go through the top 10. I didn't even know the men's came out last month. I didn't even know that. Cody Raheem Rhodes is number 1 on that list, as he should be. But the women's just came out, I want to say yesterday. So now everybody's up in the stink about it. I am in the stink about it for one thing. So we're going to get into it real quick. Let's just look at this list. But remember the criteria that they laid out for it. So here's your list. And I only got 2 through 9 on here because I'll reveal number 1 in the next slide. So from bottom to top, number 10, Athena for Ring of Honor. Number 9, Mariah May. So now this is the top 250 women wrestlers of 2024 based on the criteria that I just showed you. Mariah May is number 8. Willow Nightingale is number 7. Mariah May is number 9. Willow Nightingale is number 8. Bailey is number 7. From WWE, Sarai from Stardom is number 6. Stephanie Vacour is number 5. She's CMLL New Japan and AEW. Now she's just had her debut WWE match last night. Micah, somebody from Stardom named Micah, is number 4. Rhea Ripley is number 3. Jordan Grace is number 2. So that leaves us with one position. MD, You got any idea who number one is on the list?
Tony Storm. Gotta be.
Well, so you say Tony Storm. Venkat, who do you think is number one on this list?
Ooh. Oh, I had to switch my phone now. I totally missed the last piece what you said.
Oh no, this is the PWIs. I just went through 2 through 9.
Yeah.
So the top 250 women.
Oh, Rhea Ripley is on there. Good.
Yeah. Rhea Ripley is number 3.
No, wait a minute. Hold on.
He's asking you who do you believe is the number one wrestler?
Well, it's obviously going to be Rhea Ripley out on this list.
No, Rhea Ripley's number 3.
No, what I'm saying is in my world.
Oh well, no, we're talking about who's number one on PWI.
Oh, it's going to be Bianca Belair. I hope not, but I'm sure it's going to be Bianca Belair.
All right, so number one on PWI 250 is Tony Storm.
Oh yeah,
I got zero problem with this.
Awesome.
I got zero problem with this. Tony Storm, based on that criteria that they said, her title reigns was good. Her feuds, her matches were great. Her character is second to none. The donk is up there. It's just
well deserved.
Everything about Tony Storm, I have zero problems with this. Zero problems. Okay, let's go back to that list one more again. Who didn't we see on this list? You don't see Bianca Belair's name on there.
Right.
Last year, Bianca Belair was number 3. She was number 3 last year. You got any idea where she is in 2024?
15?
34.
Wow.
So you mean to tell me they got 33 women wrestlers that they think is better than Bianca Belair?
Well, they're probably not counting their steps.
Mariah May better than Bianca Belair?
Where is Io? Because she was champion for a chunk during this time.
Io was like number 18.
Okay.
No, guess what? They had Becky Lynch at number 17. Becky Lynch.
I don't like Becky Lynch.
They got Bianca Belair at 34.
I don't think it's a bad thing. Come on now, remember all the mess ups. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think they kind of. I'm just saying, she's a liability in that ring. She seemed much better years ago, though. She didn't.
So I'm trying to figure out why is Bailey so high? Like I'm trying to think
above Bianca Belair.
Yeah, I'm trying to think
better. Better.
From last year to this year, Bailey was damage control. She didn't have any championship.
She won it at WrestleMania. So that was what, April, and she only had it for what, like 4 months. All right, Adam Khan, peace. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, but that's late in the criteria. Because remember how PWI does their rankings? They do it from a specific time.
Yes.
So we're talking about very, very late within the criteria Bailey was champion. All the other times she was damage control, like literally doing nothing. You know what I mean?
Jordan Grace, well deserved at number 2. I have no complaint there.
To me, the top 3 are interchangeable. You could put Rhea, Jordan, or Tony 1, 2, 3, and I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Well, I'm taking Rhea Ripley
in either slots. You taking Rhea out?
I'm taking Rhea Ripley out. I would move Athena up in the top 5, and I'd put Roxanne Perez in Rhea's place. Nobody this year has done what Roxanne Perez has done. Nobody.
Where was she at?
NXT. She's number 11.
No, I'm saying where was she at on number 11? Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Which I think, I mean, I'm going to tell you now, Roxanne Perez has done way more than Bailey this year. Roxanne Perez way more than Mariah May. Mariah May just won the AEW title. For the majority of the year, she's been Tony Storm's lackey.
Yeah. But Trevor, you're not upset that Bianca Belair is that low, right? I mean, she kind of deserved it.
No, she shouldn't be. No way in the hell she should be. Venkat, she was number 3 last year.
Yeah, but she had a hell of a fall off. Come on, we all can attest to that.
31 spots?
Huh? Yes. Think about all the botched miss moves, the weird exchanges, the disorientated moments.
Let's look at their criteria again. Win-loss record. She has no losses. Championships won. She had the women's tag title. Quality of competition. Major feuds.
Exactly. She's lacking.
Prominence within a wrestling promotion. She was the number one pick on the draft. Like that means something. Overall wrestling ability. The woman is phenomenal in the ring.
But I mean, some of the most basic things, she has problems. She just looks out of step. At least the last year hasn't been the greatest for her.
That's a big drop, man. MD, what you think? Dropping 34 spots. 30. No, she's 34, so she dropped 31 spots.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it drop. I can understand the drop, no question, but down that low, I can't get with that. Especially prominence got a huge impact on rankings in anything, and that hasn't been taken away from her, despite what she's doing now. So yeah, that's kind of weird to me.
I bet y'all couldn't tell me who half of them other women are on the top 10.
Yeah, I don't know none of them Stardom women, but hey,
But I know Toni Storm.
Well, yeah, hey, you got no problem with that. That's well deserved. You know what? I'm glad though. I'm glad that Mercedes was nowhere near. I didn't even see where the hell she was. She was she was
hurt for most of that time.
But Becky Lynch has been gone for a while now. They had her at number 17.
Yeah, man.
And Becky Lynch lost her feud to Nia Jax. They had Nia Jax higher than Bianca Belair. Now, come on now. Now, hey, everybody on this show loves us some Nia Jax. But in no world is Nia Jax in the same stratosphere as Bianca Belair. And nobody could tell me anything different.
It's more to the criteria than that. I get it. I get it. Trust me, I do. But I mean, for that, I mean, it's a lot of women that could be above. I mean, so okay. So what did they have? Now Julia was in Japan. Where was she at?
So I don't have the list.
Oh, you don't got the whole list. Okay.
Yeah, I just looked at once I saw the top 10, that's what I pulled, and then I wanted to see where Bianca was. Because I
wish I knew the exact date, what the cutoff point. I wish I knew what it was, because I remember when we talked about the PWF 500 like last year, and there was a specific cutoff date. I wish I knew what it was. That way I could gauge better as to what a lot of wrestlers were doing at that particular time. So I mean, it's a lot of factors in it. But like I said, Toni Storm, Rhea, Jordynne Grace, 1, 2, 3, in any order I can go with.
And I don't have the men's list of the PWI 500, but last year Seth Rollins was number 1. I don't think he's in the top 10 this year, which is fine because he was hurt most of last year. But Roman Reigns not in the top 10. Well, he missed the majority of the year, so I guess that would be why. But Cody Rhodes number 1. And I think Will Ospreay was number 3. He could have been 2 or 3, but Will Ospreay wasn't number 1, which just goes to show you that it's not all about what you do in the ring. Like it's overall marketability, and nobody's bigger than Cody Rhodes in that thing so much. And so Gunther, who normally cuts people down during his promos, even said, hey, you're responsible for this boom period that we're in. And he is. I know Venkat going to tell me he's not, but he is. He absolutely is.
Called him the quarterback.
He absolutely is.
Who?
Cody.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I give credit to Cody. Of course. You always make it sound like I don't like Cody Rhodes. Like, that's crazy.
Cody Raheem Rhodes. All right, so one more story before we get into the review. This past Sunday, did I say it right? This past Sunday, yeah, at Wrestle Dream, which I did not see. this past Saturday.
That name sounds so generical.
What was the end? Bones, I don't know. You know what I'll do, Bones? When I get some time, I'll just pull up the whole list and then just comb through it and see like the notables, because I am interested to see where Julia is, because I thought Julia would have been top 10. So this past Saturday at Wrestle Dream, which I didn't get to see it, didn't even know it was on to him. He said something. We saw the end. Now they word this very, very specific. Now we saw the end of the full-time career of the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, as he lost to probably the worst wrestler in the world, Jon Moxley. They put a bag over his head. They Ric Flaired him. They stretchered him out. So I guess they tried to get some heat on Moxley and his crew. So man,
could have kept Swerve as a champ, man. Come on.
That's so Venkat, you right. This is what I was gonna say, and I'm glad you brought it up. If they were gonna end Danielson's career, and I guess it was in his hometown, correct, MD?
Yeah, they were in somewhere in Washington. I just know they was in Washington, here, Washington State.
If they were gonna end his career, why couldn't they have just kept the belt on Swerve, so that when Swerve is doing whatever he's doing with Bobby Lashley, it would be for the title? You could have did this exact same thing without the title, because normally when you put a title versus a career, you kind of know a guy like Danielson, who already told you that he was wrapping it up, it takes all of the sting out of it. This is why I criticized them so much, taking that belt off of Swerve. There was no reason to do that. To give Danielson a 2-month title run? For what?
It's horrible.
And put it back on, of all people, Jon Moxley.
The worst wrestler in wrestling, Mr. Garbage Wrestling himself. Oh, by the way, they had Eddie Kingston like in the top 20 on that list. So I don't know what the hell criteria, because Eddie Kingston been hurt half the year. So
they often like to put Moxley and the other Shield members in top spots on this list. Maybe they feel like, hey, we gotta put the belt on him because he's so liked by like the wrestling magazines. I don't understand that concept though.
I'm glad you bring up Shield. So Roman Reigns was the last person to beat Danielson in WWE, and now you have Moxley seemingly being the last person to end Danielson's career in AEW. So if this is really it, then we have to do a career retrospect on Danielson, because it's just too much to get into now. But what do you guys think of his overall run in AEW? What do you think of how it ended? Like, he really went out on his shield. Sting went out winning. Sting went out never losing a match. Danielson lost a lot of matches in AEW, and he really went out on his shield, which that's his character. He always says he wants to put guys over, so I get it. And from my understanding, he has like a behind the scenes role in the company. But first of all, do you guys think that this is really it for him?
I hope it is.
I believe it is, because of the stuff they've done like over the course of a couple of months, like giving him the match with Nigel McGuinness and all of that. I think that was everything. That's all he had. He wanted to do all the things before he called it quit in the ring. So yeah, I believe this is it. And you know, he called the shots. He called his shot. From what I read, this was all him.
Man, why did it have to be to this guy though? And I get it, because they're probably doing the whole Shane McMahon build up or whatever to have him be revealed as whoever's behind this new crew or whatever. But man, this guy of all guys, this guy is the guy. This is the guy that when we say, hey, who was Bryan Danielson's last match in AEW? And the record books are going to show that it was Jon effing Moxley.
And the match was mediocre at best. So what? This is Mox, what, 4th championship?
No, this is second. Well, Well, okay, no, this is his third because he beat Omega, then he beat Punk. He beat Punk in like that 90-second squash match, but that was for like the fake title. So they're recognizing it as his second run, but in theory is his third run.
It's his third, yeah, because he was interim champion.
Yeah, he beat Punk, right, Naruban? He did beat Punk in like 90 seconds when Punk, they didn't know if Punk was going to be able to wrestle or not, so they did it on that Dynamite where he hit him with the Death Rider in like 90 seconds. The match was okay. It wasn't intense because blood was disallowed. Since when was blood disallowed in AEW? What? Oh, hell, he's saying they was doing the best to protect Brian's broken body. So listen, man, I've seen Bryan Danielson in person, one of the best wrestlers in the world. So you'll never get me to crap on him. It's curious after some time for me to say where he lands in my top 10, because now I had to redo my top 10. Naruban's saying Mox is fourth. Oh God, that's crazy. But again, they want the WWE guy to be their leading guy, though. You see what they do? Bryan Danielson, man, fantastic. Like I said, man, I watched him in person. That yes movement was organic and built from the ground up because the company kept trying to hold him down. For a guy his size, he legit overcame all the odds. So if this is it, we'll definitely do a career retrospect on him. It's going to be long though, because he got his shit spanned from all these different promotions and all around the world. I don't think I can cover all of that, but just what you guys' thoughts on Danielson, man? Just again, I don't necessarily think this is it, just because the way they worded it the end of his full-time career, which to me, that means that he's probably going to take 6 months off and do some type of special match, special attraction match.
Well, it's crazy that if that's what's going to happen, because he should have been retired. There's really no reason. There shouldn't even have been an AEW run. His condition seemed to be real bad. He's just taking chances. Just go off and enjoy your life, for God's sakes. Go in the back to advise some of these young punk kids and have some kind of body left, because it ain't gonna be cool when you have those pains on joints and whatnot. I mean, he has issues that he shouldn't be out there to begin with. So I don't know what he's pushing for. Your legacy is already cemented. There's nothing else to do here. This guy's going to be like another Ric Flair, man. It's just crazy.
And the fact that he was only champion for like 2 months, I see if he said, okay, let me go over to AEW. I'm going to be their champion and try to get them, off the ground and things like that. He legit was champion for like 2 months. And to me, I just feel like that was a token. I think that was just a token championship. Just to be like, hey, thanks. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of sour on this run just because I would have rathered him end it in WWE, which I have no doubt in my mind that if this is really it, they'll be calling him to induct him in the Hall of Fame sooner rather than later. But I don't know, man. To me, AEW is too small time for a character like this to just go out on their shield to a guy like this. Like this guy don't need to be made. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't, oh my goodness, man. I don't know. MD, what you got? What's your thoughts on D Bry?
I mean, yeah, he's a great wrestler, man. I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of him, but I can understand the reasoning behind him wanting to help AEW, because the fan base wants that type of wrestler. Hey, why not just give him ROH? Just give it to him. Let him run the show. Just let him run it, and I think he'll do a great job. I could see that's Mr. ROH. I could see him turning that around. Whatever they need to do on the back end as far as marketing or availability, of course that's on Tony Khan. But as far as booking and putting shows together, just give it to him. You know what I mean? If I look at it in retrospect, I correlate or I can see a parallel with his career and AJ Styles. with them being in RH at the same time, and all, I think AJ Styles is better, but I can definitely see a correlation between how their careers parallel. He gonna go down as one of the best technical wrestlers of all time. I won't never deny him that. But what he did in AEW, it was minuscule to me. Like if we just gonna look at AEW, it was very minuscule. Like BCC, that wasn't it for me. You know what I mean? So
you got AJ Styles over him?
Yeah.
Oh, AJ is awesome, man.
That's interesting. I think man, wow. I don't know. I think overall, I would say AJ is the total package, but I just think technical wrestling, man, I don't think you could put too many guys against Danielson. Like I
tell you what, go back if you can find them, go back and watch those early Ring of Honor matches with him and Daniel Bryan in for the pure title, and then tell me AJ is inferior from a match standpoint. I'm just saying.
I mean, and I think AJ Styles is great. I just don't think you know what, to a lot of it, because I didn't watch TNA, I didn't watch ROH, so I watched Danielson from his WWE career and what I see now. So I was able to see, and it helps that I saw him in person. When I see a wrestler in person, it bumped them up a notch, just because it's like, oh man, I was able to experience them live, and the way he captivated the crowd at that Hell in the Cell, it was crazy. Even though Shawn Michaels turned on him and hit him with the chin with the super kick. Bones is saying Brian's better than AJ, and Bones follows like Ring of Honor. So, but wrestling is so subjective, because people will tell me that, Will Ospreay is the greatest, but when I saw highlights of that Will Ospreay and Ricochet match and Takeshita, it literally looked like a choreographed acrobatic move that you can go see at any local circus.
Oh my God. Hey, real quick, I know we got to move on real quick. That match, man, it almost seemed like Ricochet came off as an afterthought. I don't think Ricochet gonna be much in AEW, man. I'm gonna just be honest with you.
Wow.
He's not.
He was played as a sideshow in that match.
Oh.
You know why, MD? Because they blew their load on the match that everybody wants to see. Everybody, Ricochet's whole thing was to come to AEW to build up to Ospreay. So what do? They give it to you in this first match or second match.
Yeah, man. It was like I said, the match was what I expect. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it was not a good match. It was. But bro, there's no enthusiasm behind it, man. Nobody cares anymore because we already saw it. Takeshita was just a cherry on top.
Finally, Takeshi's champion. I mean, finally, my goodness. Hey, strap the rocket to that big Chinaman. That's where you want to go. But they'll probably because didn't Kyle Fletcher turn on Ospreay?
Yeah. So you'll probably see Takeshita and Ricochet at some point, and they're gonna do the feud with Kyle Fletcher and Ospreay.
Yeah,
just something for Ricochet to do.
Again, I saw the highlight where I think they hit like they traded Poison Ranas. Like, come on, man. A Poison Rana is supposed to break your neck. You're not supposed to be getting out of that and then hitting somebody else with it again. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like, there's no suspension of disbelief at all. Bones is saying, don't get me so. Okay, I didn't know Bones already had a problem with that. Yeah, he you know why? Because he has no character outside of being flippy. So if you blow the load, he's a flippy guy. So if you blow the load on him and Ospreay already, then what does anybody else care? Unless Kenny Omega's coming back, and then you can get Kenny Omega and Ricochet. But besides that, what does anybody care?
That's disappointing. You would think that Ricochet would have an actual shot in AEW, of having a good career here, instead of being an afterthought like in WWE. Just used for those spots, and that's it.
Well. First of all, he can't cut a promo. That's first and foremost. Like, second of all, I mean, everybody, people wanted to see Osprey and Ricochet. They wanted to see it. Now they don't because they already saw it. Ain't no way in hell. I get Ricochet. I'm sitting on that at least until Revolution. At least. Like, I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
Tony Khan, wow for that one. Oh my God. He literally wrestled 3 matches, then wrestled Osprey.
on free TV.
Hey,
That's crazy.
I guess Osprey wasn't the final boss.
Hey,
that nobody watched.
Yeah, yeah. My plan for Ricochet when they wrote him off of TV with Braun Breaker was for him to be off of TV for a while, and they start doing these vignettes about, hey, I had to go to a dark place, and he comes back as Prince Puma. That would have been a million times better than what they're doing now, because he has no charisma. He has 0 charisma. So you have no charisma. You blow the load on the match that everybody wants to see on free TV, and that's it. What else do you have? He's gonna ride out his contract, and he'll wrestle a guy here. He'll wrestle a guy here. Nobody will care. You may get a spattering of "This Is Awesome" chance, and it'll just be next WWE guy to fall by the wayside. Like, literally, that's exactly what it's gonna be. Nobody cares about Ricochet outside of the flips. They don't.
Do you think that Tony Khan put him on free TV because he felt like maybe a big bump for the ratings would have happened off of that match?
That's exactly.
How did that work out for him?
Did they get the bump that they were looking for? Oh.
No.
I'm like looking for something, Trevor. You just
nothing. You get more of a bump with a line of coke than what you got with what they got. Nothing.
Oh man.
Was that the episode that drew 300,000, or that was the week before?
I believe it was the week before. Okay. I think I think it was before the 5-year anniversary show, I believe. Or was it at the 5-year anniversary show?
I think it was at the 5-year anniversary show.
Well, if that's the case, then I believe that was the show.
Yeah, that was the show that got 300,000. Hey, the brand is, hey, whatever. Hey.
Did you post that thing about NXT outdrawing?
Yes, outdrew 3 of their shows. Yes.
Oh my, 3 of their shows in a week's time.
Yeah,
that's scary.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it is what it is, man. Listen,
why not put him with the Hurt Biz? Just put him with the Hurt Biz. He can't talk. Let MVP talk for him.
Yeah,
that's something for him to do.
That would be great.
And then you could sit on the Osprey stuff. Like, this is easy. We can book this stuff.
Yeah. He needs a manager. He has to have some type of. You got to care about him beyond just being able to flip. He needs
his classy footy blassy, man.
even in NXT, people didn't really. Nobody was really going over the moon with him. I mean, he was a flippy guy, and everybody was happy Triple H got Ricochet, but even in NXT, that's why they kept him on NXT so short of a time. Vince was like, oh, hell, let me get him up here. But, it's got to be more. There has to be something more than just being able to flip. And I'm sorry, man, it is. Because if it was all about flipping and the wrestling moves, then they'd be able to draw more than 600,000 people on a weekly basis.
That's horrible, man. That's horrible. AEW, my God.
Yeah. But nevertheless, man, so there you go. So now all that to say this. Let's get into Mr. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. So we are going to be talking about episode 1 and 2 because that's all I saw. And we just kind of just give you thoughts on it. I mean, I didn't even, because to try to do picture cards for this would have been insane. There's no way I would have been able to do this, but I did jot down a couple of highlights that I found was very, very interesting. So hopefully you guys don't get to it before I get to it. But MD, you watched the whole thing already, or you're just watching episode by episode?
Nah, I watched the first two episodes like a couple of weeks ago. I think I stopped at like episode 5. I haven't watched 5 and 6 yet.
Okay. And Venkat, you watched the whole series, right?
I watched the whole damn thing. I'm about to watch it like, all over again.
So I
It was great.
only watched the first two just because my memory's terrible, and had I watched the whole thing, I wouldn't have remembered anything. So I had to jot down some notes on it. So MD, overall, what did you take away from the first episode? So episode 1 was entitled Junior, which basically just showed him getting into the business at 39. And what I did like though is that Bob Costas was in it. You couldn't do this without having Bob Costas in it. It wouldn't have been authentic at all. So I do appreciate the fact that they were able to get Bob Costas in there. But what was your overall thoughts and just some points on episode 1?
Yeah, I mean, episode 1, I think they did a pretty good job. You know, of course, this was a time when I wasn't watching wrestling. Half that time I wasn't even born, but I know the history of it. Some things were revealed to me in that first episode that I believe that they could have expounded on more. Knowing Vince, though, it was going to be hard pressed to get it out of him. Like the whole thing about him not meeting his dad until that, his teenage years or whatnot. I never knew that. I guess I never really dove into it like that, but and seeing how he learned from Vince Senior and actually became that person times 10. So from that aspect, it was pretty good into going to what little history that Vince was able to reveal about what he was doing pre WWF. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I never knew that he wasn't with his dad, and he got sent to his dad at that age. I did not know that at all. I think that was the most interesting point. I wish we could have gotten more. You know what I mean? But knowing Vince and the type of person he is, he ain't gonna reveal his cards too much in that regard.
I enjoy destroying lives.
I'm glad you did the dad part, because I'm gonna ask Venkat a question about that, but I know he's gonna say. I just want him to say it though. So yeah, the dad thing was interesting. I had heard it already, but just to hear it. So I didn't say this was the thing going around that Vince wanted to buy this back so it wouldn't have got released. So in episode 1 and 2, I didn't see anything that would make that be like, oh man, we got to buy this back. So hopefully in the next couple episodes it gets into more salacious stuff. But Venkat, what was your overall thoughts on episode 1? And then we'll get into some talking points, because I do want to touch on the dad, him not having his dad and him not being with his dad until he was 11 or 12. So that was very, very interesting. But what's your overall thoughts on episode 1?
I thought it was good. I told a friend of mine at work. He's not really a wrestling fan, of wrestling. He knows little bits and things here and there. He said he watched the first episode. He said it was okay, but it wasn't like mind blowing. Could be a little boring in certain parts. Again, he's not a major wrestling fan, but I told him keep watching. Just keep watching. In that first episode, you could see them playing out the whole, when people hurt people, and you got people that for some reason, the human beings, we're trash. They get a bad situation happen to them, and then they go on in life to create more bad situations for others. So in there, he talks about getting beat up practically every day by a stepdad or whatever, or boyfriend of mom's or whatever. So that was interesting to hear that. And, that's just a little nugget, like showing the origin of the supervillain. And, so I'm glad they put that in there. And as you watch the episodes, it just builds on top of that throughout.
So again, I'm glad Venkat brought it up about him he basically being bullied, right? You'd say that, right?
Right. And he got into fights at school constantly. Yep.
So would you say, knowing what we know now, because you, Mr. Let's examine the brain and everything like that, Chris Benoit may not be that bad of a person. Would you attribute his upbringing to any, like, okay, I'm gonna ask it this way, because I already know what you're gonna say, but I want to hear you say it. Would you, and this is for both of y'all, would y'all attribute what we know about him and the way he treats people to him being bullied as a child? And would you give him some type of mulligan? Because he didn't, and in there he said he didn't meet his dad until he was 12. And what was interesting, he said he never asked his dad why he wasn't in his life. So now, not only did he grow up with an abusive stepdad, but now when he gets to see his real dad, he doesn't even get the chance to ask his dad, hey, why weren't you in my life? And we can't be like, well, I'll just suck it up, Junior, and be done with it. Now look at you. You got to see that as some of that stuff probably played on him psychologically.
Yeah, for sure it did. But, I think as the money kept increasing over the years and he got richer and richer, he viewed that money as not a blessing, but as a rite of passage to treat people as poorly as he may have felt he was treated earlier part in his life when he didn't have that protection physically or from money or anything. He didn't have a safe place at an early age and was victimized. And now, as an older person, he is victimizing people, and no one has a safe place around him. The thing with that though is that he didn't ever have any growth, and maybe he needed therapy or maybe he needed something more. But he has all the resources to do that, and he never tried to seek it out. He was bathing in his ignorance. He was happily in that mode. You know when you're doing something in your life, and you're like, damn, man, I really need to change. Man, I need to stop eating these burgers. I need to stop eating this, that. I need to stop doing this or that, right? You're doing self work, and like you don't see none from that nigga. So that's where the irredeemable qualities come in, because we're all flawed human beings. But the difference between being so flawed and know it and not try to be better, that's the difference between the villains and the heroes.
Hey, y'all don't hear me say this a lot, but I don't disagree at all. That's a fantastic breakdown. You know what I found very interesting in it? Like I said, there was little things, like MD said earlier, that they didn't dwell long enough on certain things. I wish they would have explored certain things, but I was listening to little nuggets as I'm taking notes, and they talk about Hamburg, Virginia, or Pennsylvania, where he became an announcer because the real announcer tried to hold his dad up for some money, and they had actual footage. This is shocking as hell that they had this footage of him trying to do commentating, asking his dad, with his dad yelling at him, telling him is not good enough, and he's asking his dad, is it good now? The reason I bring that up, there's a video on YouTube of him obliterating Michael Cole in the headset. Somebody tapped into the satellite feed and they have him cursing Michael Cole out. Do it right, damn it. And Michael Cole's like, okay, boss, is that the way you want it now, boss? But to hear that his dad did that same thing to him, hey, I'm not growing a heart for Vince, but I'm just saying, man, I always say a wayward woman, you could always go back to her childhood and look at her relationship with her father. A guy like this, you could always go back to the relationship with the dad. And the relationship with the dad is basically mimicking the way that he treats his subordinates now.
100%.
Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that.
So so they talk about how this shocked me too. So they say Vince McMahon mentioned that Gorilla Monsoon was actually the heir apparent to buy the company, to buy
which I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. If I think so, Venkat said that his friend watched it, coworker watched it, and he was like, okay, nothing to see here. But as a wrestling fan, when you hear these little nuggets, you're like, holy shit, what would it have been like if Gorilla Monsoon was kind of pissed that he wasn't the one to end up getting it, but instead being the commentator. So Vince struck the deal to buy the company from his dad, and he was like, hey, if I miss a payment, then you get all ownership back. So they go into that. So this is the part that got me. Like this is all I wanted to talk about. So Vince's father, so Vince against his dad's wishes, he went into the other territories. We know all of that. Vince mentioned, okay, so this is the part that gets me. Vince McMahon out of his own mouth said that he wanted Dusty Rhodes to be the guy that he expanded the business with. So let's look at what this looks like. We know what he did with Hulk Hogan, but Vince McMahon said out of his own mouth, Hulk Hogan was his second choice. I think he even worded it like this: Dusty didn't see the vision, so we went with Hulk. How friggin' crazy is that Vince McMahon, Mr. Body Guy, Mr. Oh, you need to tan more, or you need to do this, would look at Dusty Rhodes and say, hey, you're the guy. And Dusty was over, so I see why he wanted to do it. But he'd look at Dusty Rhodes and say, hey, you're the guy that I want to do global domination with. Man, when I heard that, I say, what?
And also the irony about it too is that Hulk Hogan used Dusty Rhodes' persona.
Yeah,
he actually cited Dusty Rhodes as the motivating factor and stole some Dusty Rhodes charisma and you know all that dustiness. He stole some of those things from Dusty and utilized it in his character. So it's like so much parallels going on here. It's crazy.
So MD, I don't know if you remember, a while back we did a segment on Would Things Be Different If, and I talked about Magnum TA, because we know Crockett wanted Magnum TA basically to be the counterpart to Hulk Hogan, but then he got in a car accident and they had to pivot. What the hell would things have looked like had Dusty grabbed hold of the vision? And how short-sighted was it of Dusty not to see Vince's vision?
I mean, it's hard to say, man, because if you look at it from that perspective, was he having a vision of something new, or was it based on the current model, which was that Crockett style, that NWA style of wrestling? I mean, who's to say? You know, he didn't get that deep into it. I mean, I'm pretty sure if it would have been Dusty, I mean, it probably would have been the same as far as marketing and things of that nature. But I mean, it would have definitely been a different, I guess you would say, style of wrestling. You know what I mean? As far as what can get over with a person like Dusty, and we know what he did. You know what I mean? But hell, at the end of the day, he pretty much did it anyway. He just did it with a certain persona of wrestling, with a Hogan and a Morocco and stuff like that. Go ahead.
So Venkat, knowing what we know now, because again, the whole Dusty Rhodes revelation shocked the hell out of me. Do you think that was the reason why he put him in polka dots?
Probably did. More than likely. It's making a lot of sense. I would say, now we're thinking about this whole Vince McMahon and the WWF and all these great things that happened, the big machine of WWE. We're thinking about it from what we know now. But back then, when Vince McMahon is an unproven, snot-nosed punk kid, and he's just there, and Dusty is like, okay, you want to do this? I mean, he isn't a proven commodity at that point. So you can understand why a guy like Dusty Rhodes, a seasoned veteran, is like, it's all right, kid. I'll keep doing my thing, because he's been very successful up to that point. So you can't blame Dusty for not going that route, because who's Vince McMahon? In that time period. Right now we know, but you would never know.
And plus, with Dusty, he pretty much already had the whole American gimmick. It was ready made for him, so I can see why. You know what I mean? I mean, they end up going that route anyway with Sheik and Hogan. He just had to make it first. You know what I mean?
Dusty, hey, I'm still not getting off of this. Dusty Rhodes was his first choice. But you know why it's mind-boggling to me is because look at Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. But when you know what Vince McMahon loves, they showed a video of Vince. They showed a picture of Vince McMahon on a boat. They were in on vacation. Him in his Speedos showing off his body. You mean to tell me that guy wanted a guy who he looks a million times better than to be the face of his company? So I agree with y'all. The gimmick was there because nobody was better than Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes used to run the territories, and he was a common man and everything like that. My goodness, that just shocked the hell out of me. I couldn't believe that, man. The Ruben said he was smoking the spliff. Hey, blaze it up. But that's crazy, man. So Vince McMahon, they did the whole thing. So they went to old Constellation Hulk Hogan then after Vince Sr. after Vince Sr. fired him because of the whole Rocky 3 thing, which I think was stupid. Again,
ridiculous.
Yeah,
because wouldn't that do good for the company?
Exactly. You talk about having no foresight, like that's crazy.
Yeah. That's that guy that we saw in the movie. Oh, he's wrestling tonight. Let's go see it.
So they made sure to shit on Bob Backlund, how much Vince didn't really like Bob Backlund and thought he was boring and everything like that. So his whole thing was, hey, I got to get this title off of Backlund, but we can't do babyface versus babyface. And it was weird to hear Vince say babyface because he hates those wrestling terms. So they transitioned it to Iron Sheik, and Hogan won the title from Sheik, and then Hulkamania was born. But watching the highlights of that and watching that match again, Hulk Hogan wrestled that match like an absolute heel. He jumped Iron Sheik from the beginning.
Yes.
He choked him out with the turban.
He's always been doing stuff like that.
He did everything like a heel. Like
because he was a heel at that particular. He just turned face. So that's what all he knew. He's been a heel his whole career.
Yeah, Hulk
Bobby, he'd do it.
Yeah,
he's
Bobby,
the only one. When the NWO switch happened, he's the only one. I told you people about this guy for years.
And they edited that out. when he said, but whose side is he on? They edited that out. I don't know why.
I know it's silly because it just adds to it.
But it was that was Bobby Heenan's persona the whole time. He never trusted Hogan.
Yes.
So stupid wrestling trope. So Vince Sr. died at the age of 69. And Vince said that he told his dad he loved him the day before he died for the first time ever. So again, here you go. Narubin saying Hogan was a face. Narubin is much younger than us, so he would only see Hulk Hogan as a face. But
exactly,
Hulk Hogan is a damn heel. So he said that he told his dad he loved him the day before he died. Yeah, that's probably some creative license in there. I'm pretty sure.
I don't believe that he says. Yeah. I don't believe that. He does a lot of after the fact editing. Man.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But it sounds good for the story. But if it's true, again, it goes back to the relationship. You have your dad, and you can't even tell him that you love him. And the only time that you tell him you love him, he dies the next day. Like that's crazy.
That's like winning the lottery and losing dying the next day.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So the star of episode 1 was Tony Atlas. So they interviewed Tony Atlas, and Tony Atlas says, I don't think Vince liked his father. he just matter of factly just came out and said it. So it was crazy that Tony Atlas would say that. So after his dad died, he set his sights on the cable TV expansion, starting with the USA Network. Tony Atlas said it. Tony, again, quote from Tony Atlas: Vince wanted to use wrestling as a stepping stone to get into the entertainment industry. That's from Tony Atlas. And when you watch,
sounds accurate.
That's why it's so great when you have all this old archival footage. That's why Venkat always says tape machines are rolling. So 10 years from now, we can go back to this and be like, hey, remember this? You got all this old archival footage, and they show Vince in front of all these TV monitors and meeting with the executives from the USA Network. And it's just crazy. That's how they got in connection with the Rock and Wrestling, because Captain Lou was playing Cyndi Lauper's dad on the Girls Just Want to Have Fun video, and Vince saw that as a way to get his company before an MTV audience, and then that's when they did the whole Rock and Wrestling, the War to Settle the Score on MTV, and it drew this monster, this ridiculous number. So by this time, everything he wants to do is paying off. So then they go on to say that while on vacation, Vince came up with the idea of doing one big event a year. That's when they showed him in his Speedo.
Now in reality, what he did was he saw Starrcade 83 and he's like, man, we need to do something like this. That's what really happened.
I don't doubt that at all. I don't, because Starrcade 83 did big. That was a big show.
Exactly.
And I do, man, at some point I do want us to go back and watch that show, man. I love Starrcade 83 because of how raw and gritty. I think like 4 matches ended with a punch.
hey, let me ask a question. Why do you think, because I was surprised at this. I would have loved to hear Vince's perspective on Black Saturday. They didn't talk about that.
Yeah, that was weird. They didn't touch on that at all. Yeah, that's so I could, well, again, if you're not a wrestling fan, you wouldn't have known anything about it, so you wouldn't know to question it. But I agree with MD. Like, they didn't touch on a lot of stuff, and they left some stuff out.
Well, that's gonna happen. There's a lot there to talk about.
Yeah, but that shocked me as a non-WWE thing, that now you get your chance to tell the Black Saturday story, not with the WWE narrative. You don't think Jim Cornette would have loved to talk about that?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
from
Dave
Vince's
Meltzer.
perspective.
Yeah, like I mean, and I'm pretty sure they got they got like some stuff that didn't make the cutting room floor, and they'll do it at some point. So he comes up with, he wants to do this one big event, and I forget, somebody said the other day there was a video going around of what he actually wanted to call it. It wasn't WrestleMania. It was some just absolute foolishness. So
wait, Bones says, "What's Black Saturday?" Guess I'm too young.
Okay, there you go. So Black Saturday, explain it, Venkat, because that was when he went in. That's when he bought Turner's TV, right? Yeah,
he paid for time, like a part of the show. He would feature WWF wrestlers, and I think it lasted for a few weeks. And in the WWE lore, they said they did a great rating, but in reality, I don't think it went as well as they tried to say it went, and that's when it ended. But the big thing is seeing Vince McMahon in that background of World Championship Wrestling in the back. Yeah. And like, that's like this blasphemous, oh my God moment in wrestling history where you never would think to see that. And it's really odd to see it, like looking back at it, especially when you know how that war is going to pop off with Jim Crockett promotions against WWF and ultimately WCW versus WWF. And the people hated it. Is so basically because the Southern fans, they weren't a fan of up north New York type wrestling. Bones, think of it this way: the Miami Dolphins trying to go in New York Jets territory. You lucky if you can make it out the building alive. That's what that was.
And so now the rumor is, I think I heard God, what's his name? I think I've heard Pritchard say this, that they bought it back from him, and that's the money that he used to finance the first WrestleMania. So I don't know how true that is, but I know I heard that. But then you also have Stephanie on there saying how, you know, her parents mortgaged everything, which I heard that also. And I'm not going to say that's not true, because you're trying to put on this one big show, and you know that's what you do. But so they do the WrestleMania thing, and they were offering it on closed circuit. It was crazy for them to go back and show you what closed circuit TV actually was, where literally people just get together in movie theaters and watch. You could never do that again. Never do something like that again. People would just get together. They offered it in 24 countries on closed circuit television for WrestleMania 1. And you know, I've always said this, WrestleManias on a whole aren't good, but WrestleMania 1 really wasn't good. Oh my goodness. I don't think the first four
WrestleMania 2 is not really good. That's
WrestleMania 2 is worst. WrestleMania 2 is like is on my top, is number 2 on my list of worst WrestleManias of all time.
It's just horrible. I remember
that was
renting the VHS or Blockbuster. That was horrible, man.
Man, listen, that because they tried to do it from the 3 locations, and it just didn't work.
Stupid.
The best main event was the Bulldogs and the Dream Team. You know, Hogan, Bundy, you know, was whatever. You had Savage and George Animal Steel, and then just a bunch of other crap.
Oh, just to go back to with the irony, you know, we're talking about the Black Saturday. You see Vince McMahon on the World Championship Wrestling set, and then you think of fast forward to 2001 when you see him purchasing WCW. So the parallels are there. It's crazy. You look at how things were different but the same, and how things progress. And it all comes full circle. It all comes full circle. Throughout the documentary, there are moments like that. In the upcoming episodes, there was something I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that actually happened. There's so many times you're going to say that with this docuseries.
Bones, it just wasn't good. It wasn't good. As a kid watching it, you thought it was the best thing in the world, because they could have fed me any damn thing, and I thought it was great. But watching it now, because I've watched WrestleMania 1 maybe 4 times, hoping that every time I watch it, it would be a little bit better. It wasn't. It wasn't. It's just terrible. So before WrestleMania, the wrestlers made the media rounds, and that's when shit hit the fan. So now they got to go out and promote this thing. They got Mr. T. They got to go out and promote this this big wrestling event that they're about to do. And in comes John Stossel. So reporter John Stossel comes in and tried to expose the business. So now here's this creep. They're going around doing their rounds to promote this thing, and he sees it as his opportunity. Hey, I'm gonna go stir up some shit and
disrespect.
Yeah. So John Stossel came in, tried to expose the business. Dr. D. Davis Shows took offense and slapped the shit out of Stossel, which resulted in the lawsuit.
Loved it.
So they had the video. They showed that where he slapped him. Like I didn't think they were going to show that, because when you do these,
that was shock. I didn't think they were going to show that. I didn't think they were going to show Hulk Hogan busting that guy's head. I thought they were going to shy away from all that.
I didn't think they were going to show the Stossel thing because he sued him. So Van Cat brings it up. Hulk Hogan choked out Richard Belzer. So now they go on this show and they're doing an interview, and Richard Belzer's like, oh man, again, everybody, because they disrespect wrestling. Oh, that stuff is fake. That stuff is fake. So he's telling Hogan, I bet hey, put me in this move. Hulk Hogan, not thinking, puts him in the front face lock, and you watch on the video, the man's arms just go limp. And Hogan drops him, and he slaps his damn head on the concrete. Oh,
blood everywhere.
Oh my goodness!
Like a faucet, a Brita filter tap.
And all this is before your biggest event ever. Like, so So the word, okay, so I got the word for years was that if Mania failed, then WWF would have been out of business just because of the money that they put in. And then I also have on here Stephanie says how her parents mortgaged everything for WrestleMania. And Vince McMahon quoted Vince McMahon saying, I don't know if it was good for the industry. I know it was good for my company, and that's all I cared about. Talking about WrestleMania.
So he let you know right there what he think about the industry. That piece of trash.
MD, what you got on all this lead up to WrestleMania? We haven't even got to WrestleMania yet, and all this shit is happening.
Yeah, man, it was a debacle. But at the same time, you know, as they say, man, all publicity is good publicity, whether it's good or bad. I mean, it did what it needed to do. You know, a lot of underlying factors made it possible ultimately to what it was. But yeah, it wasn't a good look.
Yeah,
It
but
wasn't a
going
good
back
look
to
at all,
what
especially the John Stossel. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, going back to what Trevor was saying about how Hogan is your baby face, but he's doing the most heel moves of all time, right? So now you go on a nationally syndicated talk show and you're a good guy. The guy that you're supposed to cheer just choked out a TV host, made him bleed blood. I mean, my God. Hogan, man, he's a tough sell for a good guy, man. He's a tough sell.
Yeah, yeah, and he got a record of doing that as a public figure. You know, and he still continue after that.
Hey, Hogan was the king of the back rakes.
Yeah, pretty much.
And going to the eyes, my God.
Yeah, raking the eye, raking the back.
God.
Oh man, Hogan was a heel this whole time. Macho Man was right the whole time.
Damn right he was right.
Macho Man was right the whole time. So so the episode started winding up, but I do have a note here saying that in 1987 John Stossel settled his lawsuit against David Schultz in Titan Sports, and then in 1990 Richard Belzer settled his lawsuit against Vince McMahon, Hulk Hogan, and Titan Sports. So they settled both lawsuits out of pocket. I mean, out of court. So I don't know, what the amount is. I'm pretty sure you can find it somewhere. But that wraps up episode 1. So what you guys got to put a bow on episode 1 before we get into episode 2?
It was great. Good.
It was good.
It was a good episode. A great introduction. Like I said, a lot of stuff us as wrestling fans noticed that could have been in that first episode. But, I ain't complaining.
Yeah, I agree. Once I heard the Dusty Rhodes thing, though, I was floored. Like, I'm like, man.
This documentary series, they have to do what a lot of great documentaries have to do. You have got to be able to be somewhat informative, somewhat new information of old things, and you got to be entertaining and keep the attention of the audience. And a lot of that audience isn't even wrestling fans, just people just watching something. A lot of people like to watch historical stuff or whatnot, get some kind of backstory or narrative of something that's happened in the past they may not necessarily be a fan of. Like, I could watch a documentary on hockey. I don't even care for hockey. It doesn't even matter. It's just a documentary, and I just think things interesting, and so I just watch it. So you have to keep those watchers, those viewers, in tune with what is going on. So you can't just deviate and just go into all this big time. Oh, let's get geeky with wrestling knowledge. You can't do that crap. You got to stay on pace with your story. The worst thing you could do is make content that's boring. That's the ultimate sin.
I 100% agree. That's why I thought the ESPN 30 for 30s were revolutionary.
Oh, those are great. Those are great, man.
Like,
those are great.
I hate the Miami Hurricanes with a passion, but man, that documentary was something of oh my goodness, man. Those things were great. Like when they did the one on the Orlando Magic and the 1994 with the OJ thing and the Knicks being in the championship. Oh my goodness, man.
Yeah.
That stuff was great. Bone said he deserved a slap. I still get offended when you call wrestling fake. Yeah, it is. You know what it is, Bone? Is weird, man. It's just it's so weird that you could literally see people put people have died in the ring. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. And these guys have these long-lasting injuries. Like Venkat was saying, hey, Brian should just call it quits and go enjoy your wife. I mean, your life. You got a nice-looking wife. You got 2 kids. You got a bunch of money. You live on the farm. So he lives a low-key lifestyle. Just go be a farm boy and enjoy your life, man. Nobody needs their kids feeding them tapioca when they're 30. Like, that's crazy. Enjoy your life. That was my whole thing with Tua, but no.
boy.
I need Tua to come back, though. To hell with that shit. So we get into episode 2, and episode 2 was entitled Heat. So now we're gonna start getting into more of the stuff that people know about Vince McMahon. So the first one was just to whet your palate, to make you think that Vince McMahon is this good old American boy, and he never hurt anybody, and he was just a businessman that just wanted everything to be good. But I do like that they put that they quoted him saying, I don't know if it was good for the industry, but I know it was good for my company, and that's all I care about. I'm glad they put that in, because had they not put that in, it tells you everything that you need to know about him. He never cared about the wrestling business. You heard Tony Atlas said he used the wrestling business to get into the entertainment business. He never cared. That's why he don't like you. I don't know if you remember the Stone Cold when they start doing the Smoking Skulls on the WWE Network, and he interviewed Vince, and he said pro wrestling, and Vince looked at him like, to where Austin was like, he was like, sports entertainment. Wrestling's such a dirty word to him. It's crazy.
Well, they're not professional wrestlers. They're WWE superstars.
Superstars.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's wrestling is what got him to the dance, but he just he hates it. That's why I think now Michael Cole says pro wrestling every other word now.
Yeah, he has no shackles on him.
He hasn't been able to say it in so many years. He's like, oh man, I'm a spam the hell out of the pro wrestling. So all right, so episode 2 starts off coming off the heels of WrestleMania, and at that time business was on fire. Like, it's like everything they were doing was hitting. WWF was on the network television doing the Saturday night's main event specials on NBC, which was a big deal for the company for that time, especially for a wrestling show. So the deal with Saturday night's main event, it would run on the nights, it would run on those Saturdays that they weren't doing. What's that show called? Saturday Night Live?
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, hell, the one episode with Hogan and Andre the Giant, I think they had like 35 million viewers.
Still the highest of all time.
When you think about that, 35 million people tuned in to watch wrestling.
But somehow we got to be ashamed of watching wrestling.
Oh, listen, 35 million people tuned in to hear Hulk Hogan say, how much did you pay for the operation, brother? Oh my God.
And looking serious as hell too. He should have got an Oscar on that one.
Hey, wrestling is the best, man. MD, you saw the twin magic at on that Saturday night's main event, or you weren't around then.
Yeah, but the referees looking shocked themselves. They grew up together, they bathed together. They looking shocked themselves.
Oh man, so Bone says girl watched wrestling, but wanted to watch the documentary to Venkat. No, she don't watch wrestling. Yeah, I'm curious to see what it ranks on Netflix, because Netflix, they rank all. They'll be like, hey, number 1 trending on Netflix. Or I'm curious to see what its ranking is, because the first 2 episodes that I saw was done brilliantly. So now we get into the controversy. So WWF is doing huge, but your biggest commodity in wrestling is the wrestlers. So now you get into the point where they're saying, hey, the wrestlers are working 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year with no time off.
Ridiculous.
So now, yes, these guys, it's not like now. If a wrestler's injured now, Hey, they write him off of TV, but they're paying him. Back then, they weren't paying you. If you don't work, you don't get paid. So a lot of guys were working hurt because their bodies were breaking down. But they're like, hell, if I'm not on the card, I don't get paid. And people wanted to be on a Hogan card, because if Hogan was on the card, your cut was going to be bigger for that night. So Meltzer mentioned, Dave Meltzer made an appearance on there. I don't know if he continues on it, but Dave Meltzer said how the wrestlers today are on guaranteed contracts with time off as compared to the wrestlers of the 80s who many times worked hurt because they didn't want to lose pay. So MD, to the point of them and their work schedule, they were doing, and I heard Ric Flair say a lot of times that they did double shots on Sundays.
Twice on Sundays.
Hey, yeah, man. Hey, I'm and this is the episode I'm really interested to hear Van Cat. I'm really interested to hear his point. Leading up later. Hey, look, man, that was the nature of the business at that time. Is it wrong? I mean, I guess you could say, but if you wanted to get booked constantly, from the outside perspective, that's what you had to do. If you wanted to work, that's what it was.
So think about this for a second, right? So you got wrestlers that are busting their tails, breaking down their bones in their bodies. So what do you think the product is going to be like? Well, you got all these busted, broken, bruised up wrestlers on a card. You're going to see some of the worst wrestling, some of the worst matches. So that's a lose for the fans. They done paid their hard-earned money, saw some bogus-ass match. You wonder why when you look back at how it is, like, oh, it's a double DQ, or, oh, the match just ended in 90 seconds, and we don't have a real winner, and like these weird moments, and you're like, what the hell is going on? You can never get maximum effort. You never get the real value for your dollar for what you're seeing, because of this stupid, archaic idea and system. We're going to ride these wrestlers to the ground and get all the money we can. When in retrospect, you could have handled that way better, treated them fairly. They would have been able to rotate different wrestlers. They could have made all big money, and guys wouldn't be beat down and broken, and they could have had better efforts in the ring. And those better efforts would lead to fans' engagement going up, interest going up, and people being more willing to accept wrestling and even want to see it even more. So as great as that 80s era was, and the golden era of wrestling, where it was so popular and all this other stuff, imagine if their wrestling was on point. You don't really see wrestling on point until, the WCW, ECW times, when the luchadors and Rey Mysterio and all these guys start pushing wrestling to a very competitive looking state. But before that, there was big fat ass guys just rubbing up on each other, and then now that was your match right there. But in the 90s, especially the mid 90s, it elevated after that dark period of time we had with Ric Flair in a dress wearing mascara, and 1995, the entire year was just horrible. But after that, we got ECW, we got WCW Nitro, things started to pop off. You got the Attitude Era, and you started seeing Kurt Angle, and you started seeing Benoit, and you started seeing these guys that have been crafting their holes and their science behind the wrestling, and it all paid off. But we had to go through some bull crap to get to that. And I'm just saying, you can make money, do it the right way, and everybody wins, instead of just the big business guy winning. All I'm saying.
I listen, I don't disagree at all, because I forget which card it was where every match ended in like 90 seconds, or everything was a disqualification. But to your point, because if you can't, if your finishing maneuver is a clothesline and your damn shoulder is ripped out of place, not much you could do. What was it? WrestleMania 2, I think it was. Dirty Dominic Mysterio piece. What was it? WrestleMania 2, where the British Bulldog Or it may have not been WrestleMania, but it was one where the Bulldogs lost their title. I want to say to probably the Hart Foundation, and Davey Boy Smith, was it Davey Boy or Dynamite? No, it was Dynamite Kid, was out the entire match. They literally had to drag him to the ring just so he could stand on the apron and do the match because he was so banged up. WrestleMania 7 comes to mind. Shawn Michaels being so out of it, he literally stood on the apron and Marty Jannetty wrestled the entire match because Shawn Michaels couldn't do anything. Why have that guy come out there just because he wanted his WrestleMania payday? So y'all ain't gonna get no quarrels with me on and Venkat on this one. I wonder who was the president of the United States at that time. This was around what?
Reagan.
8. So this was a Reagan time.
Reagan,
okay.
Yeah.
So,
All the more reason why.
So Bob Costas and Bret Hart mentioned the lack of health. Bret Hart, they mentioned the lack of health care and the need for a union. So Bob Costas, again, big enemy of the state when it comes to Vince McMahon, mentioned, hey, these guys need to be unionized. Bret Hart, these guys need to be unionized. So in comes Jesse Ventura, like, hey, we need a union. So Jesse Ventura tries to get the wrestlers to unionize, and Hulk Hogan went and snitched them out to Vince. I mean, they
the biggest bitch alive.
They said it plain out just like that. Jesse tried to get the wrestlers together for a meeting. Hulk Hogan went and told Vince that where the meeting was going to take place. Vince McMahon got the wrestlers together before the meeting in another meeting, the meeting before the meeting, and said that if anybody, he said he knew about the union meeting, and he stated that if anybody went to that meeting, they wouldn't have a job anymore. So to that point, again,
so all the wrestlers should have at that point, in solidarity, went together and just walked the frig out. But that's not what people do. That's not what people do. There are a lot of people are in fear and intimidated by things like that, and they know they got a mortgage, so they're not going to do it. But that's why you need a union, because if they had a union, they would have had some kind of backing or some type of support or help. And that's why it's important. Individual people cannot fight against big business. It's just, you got to come together to be able to buffer all that money, cash flow, and influence. You can't just do it. I can't just say, hey, Trevor, me and you, let's just go ahead and take down Walmart. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Hey, Venkat, I don't disagree with you. What I'm saying is they could have walked out. They could have done that, but you don't have to unionize to do that, is what I'm saying. It's the same result. You just don't have to transfer the power from one entity to another. You don't have to do that. That's
where were they going to get the health care from?
Say what?
Where were they going to get the health care from?
Again, we're talking about supply and demand when it comes to a product, right? If Vince held that meeting and said, hey, anybody who goes to that meeting not going to have a job anymore, and if everybody would say, hey, you can kiss my ass now, and left, who's got the leverage? Union's not formed yet. Who's got the leverage? That's all I'm saying. A union, all a union is a transfer of power. That's it. Anybody tell you otherwise don't know the history behind union. I'm transferring power from this corporate entity to the quote unquote worker, quote, air quote. Now I'm doing the air quote, unquote worker entity. But who's in charge of that said worker entity? Somebody got to facilitate it, correct? It's all it is a transfer of power. You don't have to necessarily transfer power in order to get a unionized result. That's all I ever said. So they definitely could have walked out. Vince wouldn't have had a show to run, and then he would have came to his senses. I'm not saying striking is wrong. I never said that.
to both of your points though, on both ends. So Meltzer came back in the same interview, and Meltzer said Meltzer claims that it was widely known. So, but this is Meltzer again. So all the wrestlers agreed to get together. All the wrestlers agreed to get together to hear Jesse out on this idea before Hogan stooged them out. But Meltzer comes back and claims that it's widely known that it wouldn't work because the wrestlers would never stick together.
Exactly.
Right.
But if you had
Hogan.
a union, the chances would exponentially be greater that they would have been more successful and they could have executed it a lot better with the union. The chances of actually getting it done would increase because of the union. The thing is, for years I didn't even care about unions, and slowly but surely, through my own employers being deathly afraid of unions and handing out pamphlets and brochures about how the unions are so bad. Like, wait a minute, why do these guys keep bringing this up? And then over the years, the more I hear a Republican talk about the negativity of unions, if you want to know what to do in life, just ask a Republican, do the opposite, and you'll win every time. Because they're always saying the worst things.
So let me ask you a question, Van Cat. Why do you think Hogan ratted out those guys for forming that meeting? Why do you think he did that?
Because
I'm not saying it was right.
Because he was the golden goose, right? He wanted to also earn brownie points by McMahon and get in an even greater position with him, because he's a freaking floozy that just wants to go ahead and put his nose up McMahon's ass and be like, look, see, I got your back. You see, and then he would just cut him better deals, and it'll make his position better. I guess he was individualisting his capabilities with McMahon. Forget the group, forget the boys. It's about me. He deboed that.
Yeah,
I got $100.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, it's about what Hogan was making versus everybody else. If they were to unionize, that would drastically cut the value of Hogan. Almost instantaneously. He didn't want that. Now again, I'm not saying right, wrong, and different. Not saying that. What I'm saying is put yourself in a position. You can collectively do it. I don't have no issue with that. But put yourself in a position where you can solidify the things that you want. Because at the end of the day, it's about you. So I didn't have anything wrong to say about them forming a union and then being threatened and then doing something counter to the threat. I wouldn't have no issue with that. My whole issue, as always, as I said, is the unionization, transfer of power. So I get it, but at the same time, know your word. And Hogan damn sure knew his word. That's why he ratted him out.
Go ahead, Bankhead.
No, I just wanted to say this real quick. So I remember looking at a documentary for the NBA. They were talking about there was 1 year in an All-Star game. This is back in the old days, like 50s, 60s, something like that. And it's back with Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain and Jim Brown from football. The Browns, they would get together on civil rights issues and whatnot. And the NBA players at that particular time, their pay wasn't the greatest.
Oh, you're talking about One Night in Miami is what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. And they actually banded together, made a statement, and you could say that moment, huh? What's that, MD?
No, I said I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. And they banded together, made a statement. They stood up for something. They weren't guaranteed that things were going to go great for them in that moment, but they were willing to take the loss for the greater good of what needed to be done. It's called being a man. Not even a man. It's beyond being a man, because then we got a bunch of so-called men walking around here, but they a bunch of punks that they don't put none on the line. Everything has to be guaranteed in their favor. Sometimes you got to take a risk and you got to make a statement. And a lot of people are not doing that. There's a lot of cowards walking around, and they're buckling under the lightest of situations. But Bill Russell and them, they didn't care. They knew what they believed in. They knew what they needed to do, and they stood up to it. And that opened the door to where right now the NBA and their players, they get paid way more than other contemporary sports figures. And they're getting paid their value, if not over their value. And in wrestling,
Definitely over.
Well, I mean, come on now. There's no NBA or sports spectacle without those names. When you don't have the names, the viewership ain't there. It ain't there. Like remember the San Antonio Spurs against the Detroit Pistons back in like 2002,
Yeah.
2003. Nobody wanted to see that bull crap. It's not until LeBron.
It was a great series though.
Not until LeBron in 2010 with the Heat, and literally the Heat from saying I'm taking my talents to South Beach and people hating his ass and burning the shoes and the jerseys and whatnot. That brought in fan interest. That individual player made basketball hot again. For better or worse, it made the interest there, and then the viewership went up. And that's what I'm saying. So they do command a certain amount of money because people pay attention and want to see them. They don't want to see the logo or the team jerseys play. Yeah, nobody cares about the team. They care about those players in those jerseys and in the court. So, you got to make a stand at some point. And the wrestlers in that day showed that they were a bunch of yellow belly cowards. Only Jesse Ventura was the only real man there, as all those Billy Goats just ran off because a bitch ass promoter, Booker, told them something and they got scared. Now, if they were real men, which they always claim to be, they would have stood up to it, took the consequence, and kept it rolling. And they would have probably set up something where the wrestlers could have benefited much earlier. We could have probably avoided a Benoit issue. We could have probably avoided Owen Hart issue. All those things may have never came to pass if those guys in that day would have had some balls. They didn't have it.
So, in only thing I'm gonna say in football, we absolutely care about the team. We don't really too much care about the players.
That's why football players don't make as much.
Our loyalty is to the mascot versus the individual player. But MD, just one thing to push back on you: the union wouldn't have brought Hogan's money down, because in wrestling is different. The pay, you can't have equal pay scale in wrestling, because Dino Bravo wasn't drawing the house like Hulk Hogan was. I think they really wanted to unionize for time off, and the health care benefit was their main thing.
Well, yeah, I get your point, but I mean, the hell, under a union, anything is possible, because that, like, again, it's the transfer of power. Who's making the rules at that point? I mean, who's to say it wouldn't have been more parity with what the purse was for the man? Nobody knows that. We don't know what the demands could have been. So I get your point, but I mean, it is not under the realm of possibility.
Let me prove that point to you. 40 years later, who's on my shirt?
Okay, yeah, I get you.
Hulk Hogan. I get you. So, all right. So WrestleMania 2 took place in 3 different cities, which again, that show sucked. It was so they're saying it was a commercial success, but logistically it was a nightmare, just because you're trying to run 3 different TV broadcasts. And plus the card was terrible. So then they go.
That was Roddy Piper against Mr. T in a horribly fake boxing match. Like, if you're gonna box, they should have boxed for real.
Yeah, that was, and you saw they had Piper's fingers. They had his hands taped, so he couldn't make a fist.
Wow.
Because Roddy Piper was a real boxer. Mr. T, Roddy Piper was a real Golden Gloves boxer, and they feared that he was going to knock Mr. T out. So they taped his hand. They did something, I forget, because they always tell the story. I think they taped his thumb up or something to where he couldn't make a fist.
Wow.
That's why at the end you see him like yelling at his corner man, like, man, cut this shit off, because I guess it started to hurt him after a while. But so then we get to WrestleMania 3. So coming off the heels of WrestleMania 2, Vince knew he needed something huge. Vince reached out to Andre the Giant and pitched an idea of him wrestling Hulk Hogan with him being a heel. Not Hogan, Andre. So so that event, all right, so here we go, because boy, Dave Meltzer, I don't think Dave Meltzer wanted to be on this at all, but for this point right here. So the event took place, the event took place in Pontiac, Michigan, in front of 93,000 fans. Hogan claims that he didn't know the finish of the match until he dropped the leg and Andre kicked out. I call absolute bullshit. You mean to tell me you're going into the biggest wrestling match ever at that time and you don't know the finish until you drop the leg? Because Hogan said in the documentary that Andre told him, slam me. And then he said, drop the leg. So he's basically saying Andre called the match on the fly. That's what he's saying. I call bullshit.
Wait, Trevor, you're trying to say the Hogan may have lied?
Hey, Hulk Hogan said when he slammed Andre was 700 pounds. Andre was about 400 on a good day. So, and by the way,
lies in just this one match.
And by the way, that match was terrible, man. If you watch that match back, and again, I watched them all. I went back and watched every single WrestleMania. You watch that match back. That match is horrendous. That you talk about all the stalling and the fact that Andre pinned him in the first 10 seconds of the match. Let's not forget about that. But
yep.
Oh my goodness,
yep.
Man. You can't. But I mean, come on. At the time, Andre was literally a broken man, and he was clearly in a lot of pain. A lot of his rest holds, you could see him grimacing and just all the pain he was in, stuff like that. So I'm not even putting it on Andre, but I'm just saying, LeBron is the GOAT. But I mean, we had to have that conversation at a later date. I don't want to piss Venkat off. Yeah, LeBron better than Jordan. That's all I'll say.
Blasphemous. I can't believe I got to defend Jordan. I'm not even a Jordan fan, and I have to defend Jordan.
So Hogan says he didn't know the finish of the match. So the number, 93,000. So I got in here. We still don't know the real number. Meltzer is the only one saying that it was less than 93,000. So everybody online that says it was less than 93,000, they get it from Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer has been adamant that it was more like 70,000. If that place only has 70,000 people in it, it would be crazy. But the number that everybody they interviewed said, and this was non-WWE people, they said 93,000. So somebody's lying. I feel if Dave is saying 70, WWE is saying 90, I think it was more like 89, 88, 89, which again would just be a ridiculous amount of people in 1987. When was that? 1986 to put 87 to put in that type of space. Because at the time the Pope I think had like 90,000, so they wanted to beat the Pope in that same arena, I want to say. And so MD, who's lying?
But you know Ric Flair had 116,000.
Well, they had it over. They had like 200,000 over
North Korea.
Yeah, North Korea.
They had guns to these people's heads.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Hey, it ain't like they wanted to go see it. The government forced them at gunpoint to go watch it. So, MD, where does the number really lie?
Probably somewhere in between. to be honest, I mean, it was a huge crowd, and I'll say this for the layout of the Pontiac Silverdome at that time, it was a lot of floating out. Now we're talking in comparison to stadium shows today. The layout was horrible.
Oh, God,
that I just want to say that, just looking at it from a format standpoint, the layout was horrible. But I could see it because there were so many floor seats. If you go back and watch, it was like I don't even understand, like, some of the people that was in the back rows of some of those floor seats. What did they see? They didn't see nothing.
But they were looking up at that. They were looking up at that monitor. Their neck had to be hurting like crazy after that.
Yeah. So I could see it. Again, it's probably somewhere in between. If I had to guess, if I had to make an estimated guess, I would probably say it's somewhere in between.
I would love to hear from somebody that was actually there. Just to ask them that question, what was the viewing like? Because you're right, man. Every time they show WrestleMania 3, it looks great, us watching it. But, man, the seating has no elevation to it. You would be better off sitting in the nosebleeds. At least you could watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. It's got to be the worst. That had to be like the worst viewing experience ever. To watch that. Venkat, I know you. What do you think the real number was?
It wasn't 93,000, and I'm gonna agree with Melsa. I think it was in the 70s. If the AEW show, was what they hit what? Did they hit 80 something? I believe
it was like 85,000.
Right. So they under that AEW show. So it's got to be mid to low 70s is what that was. And you know it is because Vince McMahon always overstates his numbers, just like another guy that's just like him. And ironically, they both say you're fired.
Oh, boy.
So they always overstate what the numbers are. So, and we know WWE has a history of fabricating, lying, overstating the truth. Come on, that's what they do. That's what they do. So because of that reputation alone, they're going to get a few points more deducted, maybe 65,000. Thank you.
So I thought this was very interesting. Stephanie McMahon, after the whole WrestleMania thing, they show Stephanie McMahon and she says, she resented the fact that Vince never got any of the credit for the success of WrestleMania 3, and just period. It was all going to Hogan. So to have her say that, now we're gonna be like, oh, is her dad, blah blah blah. But now we always, because hell, 20 years later they had that WrestleMania match, and the whole point of that match was who really created Hulk Hogan, like who was the driving force behind Hulkamania? Was it Vince or was it Hulk Hogan? So I can see it was
Hulk Hogan first.
I can see where she's coming in the AWA, but that was
exactly
that was nothing compared to what he became. Nothing.
But you don't have that without that AWA.
He wanted Dusty Rhodes, brother.
Yeah, but still, there would have been nothing without what happened in AWA. Not a thing would have happened.
Man, it's crazy because we talk about Constellation Cody. Man, it was Constellation Hulk Hogan. Vince wanted Cody's dad. But I think a lot of that though is because that's her dad. So she probably just like, yeah. I mean, because hey, Stephanie, I would say this. Your dad was getting the lion's share of the money, so you were able to be in in all the best schools and all that stuff. So I wouldn't cry too much.
Yep.
So they go on to say that Vince feared that he would lose Hulk Hogan to Hollywood because of how larger than life he was. Somehow Vince foresaw Suburban Commando and Mr. Mom and
wow
and No Holds Barred, those Emmy nominated movies, Oscar nominated
movies. What's that smell? Dookie.
So Vince decided to create a movie. Oh, here we go. Vince decided to create a movie to appease Hogan. Okay, so they're saying that he feared he was going to lose Hogan to Hollywood. So in order to appease him, he decided to create a movie and that's when they decided to do the classic No Holds Barred. I wrote the classic in there.
But you notice how for his character he didn't even try to be different. Like literally, the difference was instead of wearing red and yellow, he wore blue and white.
He was a guy pretending to be Hulk Hogan, which was weird because in the beginning he was the WWF champion. So why didn't they just make it Hulk Hogan?
Right.
They named him Rip Thomas. Like that was stupid.
The laziest story writing of all time.
Well, you heard how they did it though. They said that they locked themselves. Hogan and Vince locked themselves up for 3 days in a hotel room. Can you imagine what was going on in there?
Yeah, a bunch of SA in it. a bunch of kidnapped women, kidnapped girls.
I blame myself because I set him up for it. I blame myself because I knew I was gonna say they was snorting lines, but he just went.
They're snorting lines off the butt of those, just like in RoboCop.
I blame myself for it, man. So what is Ricardo saying? He's talking to Bones. They're arguing about MJ and hey, that's a basketball show right there. MJ versus Jordan. Just put it to bed. I mean to my MJ. LeBron versus Jordan. So Vince saw that Hogan was starting to lose a little steam. So this is after they did No Holds Barred. So Vince saw that Hogan was starting to lose a little steam, so they decided to have him pass the torch, to the Ultimate Warrior. That was a whole WrestleMania 6 because remember he didn't want to do babyface versus babyface. He didn't want to do babyface Backlund against babyface Hogan, but now when he sees that Hogan is starting to lose steam, which he was because the crowds weren't cheering for him as much. Now he wants to pass it on to the newcomer, Ultimate Warrior, in a babyface versus babyface match. So in a matter of years, he totally went against his philosophy. So they decided to go to Ultimate Warrior, but they're saying Warrior's run didn't go as they expected, so they needed to get the title back on to Hogan. In comes Sergeant Slaughter, the Iraqi sympathizer run, which I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I thought the Iraqi sympathizer thing was great because and hey, I had a cousin that was in the Gulf War at the time, but I still thought the Iraqi sympathizer thing was great because here you have this American hero, Sergeant Slaughter, basically turning on the country and becoming a villain, and now you got this greater American hero has to come take him down. It wrote itself.
Yeah, but Trevor, Slaughter was a member of G.I. Joe. You can't be a member of G.I. Joe and turn on the country, sir. That's just not possible.
Yeah, that's heat, brother. That's heat.
Oh, God.
Hey, when he burned, because they wanted to burn the American flag, but they were getting too much pushback. So when he burned the Hulkamania shirt, I mean, big letdown. But man, as a little Hulkamaniac at the time, I'm like, man, there's some serious stuff going on here. So they get into that. The Gulf War happened and it derailed the storyline. Hulk Hogan got his title back at WrestleMania 7, blah, blah, blah. Another terrible WrestleMania. I'm telling you, as big of a WWE fan as I am, WrestleManias are not good. Historically to me, SummerSlam is the show. WrestleManias are not good. They're starting to get better later, especially with the way that they've been dropping the card, because I don't think everybody deserves to be on WrestleMania, but that's another story. So
well, the highlight of that night, WrestleMania 7, was Warrior and Macho Man. That's one of the
top 10 greatest match of all time ever.
Well, not of all time. Maybe at that era.
All time.
No, not that era.
All time.
No, man. I mean, it was great. It was, and that's the other thing too. People not giving
top 10 WrestleManias. I'm talking about top 10. Period.
I know what you're saying. I don't agree with it, but it's a great match. Even I remember pissed off that it was so good because I didn't like WWF at the time, and but the match was great. It was on the news. I woke up the next morning and it was on Channel 7 News, WSBN. It was on. They were talking about it specifically.
Seeing that.
Yeah, specifically, they didn't even talk about Hogan and Song. They talked about Macho Man, Elizabeth getting in the ring. I'm like, I've never seen the news bring up wrestling before, and when I saw that, I was stunned. Well, it was a great match.
All those ugly 1980s women just crying and
Yeah. Oh
just,
yeah.
oh my goodness, bro, with the big hair and the ugly sweaters.
Yep.
Man, that match was great, man. That's a match that I had to watch at least once a year, just because I think that was definitely Ultimate Warrior's best match ever. But that when you talk about storyline in a match and everything, that was it. That match was story driven, with Ultimate Warrior hitting them with the splashes, and it didn't work. And then he started looking at his hands, and he said, "Do I have it anymore?" And he started to leave, and the referee was like, "Hey, you realize if you leave, your career's over." And he just standing there looking, man. Hey, bro, you can't manufacture that type of drama. That was fantastic. So here we go. Dr. George Zahorian. So Dr. George Zahorian was a ringside doctor appointed by the Athletic Commission. So this wasn't WWE's doctor. This was an Athletic Commission that appointed this guy. But you know, wrestling 360 days a year. He was hanging around the locker room and starts selling steroids to the wrestlers.
Of course.
He would sell steroids, painkillers, and sleeping pills to the wrestlers after prescribing them. So he'd prescribe them, and he'd also sell them. Sleeping pills was a big thing for wrestlers, man. When I listen like Kevin Nash and all them talking, they'd always be talking about like somas and stuff like that. So they obviously have problems going to sleep because you're basically in a car crash all the time. So so he would sell steroids to the wrestlers after prescribing them. Vince
isn't that predatory as hell right there?
Very
goodness gracious.
Very you talk about taking advantage of somebody. That's taking advantage of somebody.
Wow.
You know, you're supposed to be there to help them, to protect them from Vince, you know, from overworking them and stuff like that, because that's why the Athletic Commission put you there, and you're literally turning around aiding in their demise.
Yes.
So it says Vince was pressured into implementing a drug policy because hell, his rumblings are getting around. The same night, against Vince's wishes, Hulk Hogan went on the Arsenio Hall show and lied about steroid use.
Well, that's what he does all the time, is just lying.
But Vince acknowledged that steroids was going on. So he does the way they painted it in the documentary. You still there, right, MD?
Yeah, I'm here.
So the way they painted it in the documentary is that Vince took that one on the chin. He's like, hey, there's steroid use going on in my company, so I'm gonna get ahead of it, and I'm gonna implement a drug policy. Which around the time, that's why you saw like Ultimate Warrior disappear, and when he can, that's when they start making the shift to Bret Hart and stuff. And when you saw Ultimate Warrior come back at WrestleMania 8,
he was smaller.
He looked half the size of the other Ultimate Warrior. That's why the rumor was going around that wasn't the real Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, I remember that. Everybody
we used to say Ultimate Warrior was dead. That's crazy back then. So Hulk Hogan, the same night, Vince didn't want him to do it. He goes on Arsenio Hall, that being a politician, as Hulk Hogan is, and Arsenio Hall asked him about steroid use, which I remember that.
Yep.
This Joker lies and said that he never used them.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. And you know, I know we're gonna get into it. The fact that wasn't a major implication on what the stakes were with him testifying is crazy to me. Crazy.
So Vince always talks about Hogan. He always said Hogan testified against him. Hogan didn't testify against him. Hogan's testimony actually saved him from, well, Hogan says that. So you don't know how true that is. But because
Hogan was supposed to bury Vince But all
Yeah,
he did was he
Hogan
didn't do it. He didn't do it.
He was their star witness.
Right. And it didn't go out the way the FBI wanted it to.
Yeah.
So I mean, Hogan could have said something, but he didn't. He didn't
And
say
the
anything.
fact that he blatantly lied on Arsenio Hall, I don't see how that wasn't used as leverage against him. I don't see how he got out of that.
Exactly.
So damn, I did take a lot of notes on it. I didn't think it took so much. Okay.
Well,
So
which, by the way, Arsenio had all kinds of that show was super important. They had
Arsenio Hall was fantastic.
Yeah, that's great.
You remember there's a clip of one of his shows where I guess some gay guys were heckling him.
Yeah,
and, yeah, when they went on break, man, Arsenio went off on their ass.
Yep.
Hey, he went the hell off, man. That show was so great, but of course it wasn't going. I think they said it went downhill once the show didn't go downhill, but
he stopped it because of the driving.
No, they kicked him off. They started messing with his show once he had the Nation on there.
Oh, okay.
When he had the Nation, the Nation of Islam on there, that's when they started like, oh hell no, he ain't about to do this. And that's when they start messing with his time slot and start doing all of that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that was a great. Arsenio was a great show. So, and he smashed Paula Abdul. So I mean, so enter enemy number one, Phil Mushnick. So Phil Mushnick seemed to have a personal vendetta against Vince and the WWF. He'd write columns uncovering all the dirt behind the scenes, and Jim Cornette. There's even things with Jim Cornette trashing Phil Mushnick. It just seems like you have those guys that I think the way they worded it in the documentary is like he thought it was how gross it was, and it was his mission to just ruin Vince, and it was just it's like nothing seemed like it came off genuine. It just came off like, hey, this is my personal vendetta, and I am going to ruin this person. That's how it came off to me with Mushnick. So
you don't think that Mushnick had any valid points?
No, he had a lot of validity, but he didn't write it from the point of a impartial, unbiased journalist. He wrote his stuff as I want to get Vince.
Or as you would say, he wrote it like me.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, even though I don't believe in that, but whatever. That's a problem.
You should not him and moonlighting as Mushnick. So Tony Atlas stated how abusive all the wrestlers were to women. Hey man, you want to hear something? Just put a microphone in front of Tony Atlas.
Tony Atlas is truthing.
Yeah, he ain't gonna lie to you. So with him saying that, it led to this. Superfly Jimmy Snuka's girlfriend.
I can't believe they covered this.
Yeah,
this is another one. I was so sure that they were going to go over this one. They were not going to take this.
Yeah, I thought they was going to gloss over this, but so Superfly Jimmy Snuka's girlfriend, I think her name was like Valentina Argentina or something to that effect, hit her head and died. That's what they say. She hit her head and died in a hotel room, and the forensic pathologist ruled. So she hit her head and died in a hotel room. The forensic pathologist ruled it as a homicide. So the pathologist came in and ruled it as a homicide, which would implicate Snuka, but it just somehow went away. So now the rumor is, and this is allegedly, it's all rumors here, but I've heard this from a bunch of people, that Vince walked in that police station with a briefcase and walked out without the briefcase.
Yeah, Hey man, I can't make nothing up on that. I said,
that's what they said.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. It's just funny. So many things where he could have been criminally implicated, and hey man, that's power, bro. That's power.
So And we all know eventually they did bring Snooker to justice. I mean, but by that time his brains were scrambled eggs. And they did eventually try him, though. I know they were saying they weren't because he couldn't stand trial, but I feel like they eventually did put him on trial, but then he ended up dying.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how it went. I do know they reopened that investigation and they put charges on him. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, then he died.
Yeah.
So
he
did.
died. That bastard died. Like it's like he died on purpose. See, they finally got his ass, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna die in 2 weeks."
So, here's another one. The Ring Boy scandal. So,
another unbelievable story.
And y'all want to see something on this? Go on YouTube and look up the Phil Donahue show, where they talked about this on that show. Unfriggin' believable the way that show went, man. That show was crazy.
Yes.
Mel Phillips would bring underage ring boys to help put up and take down the rings. Mel Phillips was a black guy. I couldn't believe it. The whole time I've been hearing about this, I thought Mel Phillips was a white guy. Like, that name just sounds like a white guy. But they showed his picture. Mel Phillips is a black guy. There were reports of top officials such as Pat Patterson and Terry Garvin that would SA the ring boys. This was a huge thing. This ring boy scandal. So and there, who was the guy? I think his name was like Barry O, something like that. He went all over the circuit telling everything that was going on. Vince settled with one of the ring boys, and Mel Phillips and Terry Garvin were fired. Pat Patterson was eventually brought back. Now, we know Pat Patterson is Vince McMahon's right-hand man and everything, but it's interesting. He fires Mel Phillips and fires Terry Garvin, but brings Pat Patterson back, knowing he had to have known at the time that Pat Patterson was gay. So he couldn't say that, oh, this could never happen. Like, why did he get rid of Garvin and Phillips but not Pat Patterson?
Because I think Pat Patterson had stuff on Vince that he didn't want to get out. And I think he just did it, just to show that he did it, but he was his intention was always to bring him back. Remember, Pat was facilitating a lot of that stuff with the athletic commission and the drug. That was essentially Pat Patterson. Remember in the documentary, when they got found out, Pat Patterson was the guy that told the doctor, "Hey, look, call me back on the payphone." You know what I'm saying? So I think Pat Patterson, he had the inside story on Vince, and he knew what was going on. For whatever reason, whether it be the drugs or the quote unquote SA, he had it. And I think those other guys, they weren't in a circle like that, so they were collateral damage, disposable.
Man, this documentary is so friggin' compelling, man. I can't wait to see 3 and 4. You was gonna say something, Venkat?
Yeah, the only thing good Pat Patterson ever done would be the first Intercontinental Champion and made Royal Rumble. Everything else, he's straight gutter trash.
and he sings a fantastic rendition of My Way.
Oh Lord.
So Bones put this in the chat. Bones, I had this in my notes. Tony Atlas again, the great Tony Atlas. Tony Atlas says Pat Patterson used to grab my wood.
Tony Atlas did not hold back on this interview.
Yo, Tony Atlas was okay. So now you look at a guy like Tony Atlas. Like, what's the deal there? Pat Patterson grabbed his junk and he didn't destroy him.
Well, because of the pecking order, no pun intended, but I mean, his standing in the organization is pretty high. So if you go off on him, I'm sure there'll be hell to pay.
And why does Tony Atlas always wear these cut off dress shirts?
Hey, when my wife walked in the room when I was watching it, that's the first thing she noticed. She said, does he have on a muscle dress shirt? I said, yeah, that's his thing.
He's always in character, man. Always.
That's his thing, man. Strongest man in the world. That's his thing. Yeah, but Tony Atlas, to hear him tell the Bruiser Brody story, that's just a sad, man. I hope one day we could cover that, man. That's just terrible, the Bruiser Brody thing. What I'd like to do is look when it happened and then try to do like a show around the anniversary. So we got a couple more points before we wrap it up. Rita Chatterton. All right, so Rita Marie Chatterton, the first female referee. So take that, Jessica Carr and Ref Bay. Y'all not the first. Oh, and what's the Aubrey Edwards over in AEW? Rita Chatterton, the first female referee, claims she was essayed by Vince McMahon.
Yep, that's the lady I was telling you about.
She said that Vince stated if she wanted her $500,000 a year salary, she'd have to please him. First of all,
yep,
you giving this referee $500,000 and your wrestlers not named Hogan and Warrior weren't making this?
Well, I mean, he paid more money for hookers than he did for WCW. So, I mean, this is consistent. This is on par with Vince McMahon.
So, but think about that. In the 90s, $500,000 to a referee, not a talent, a referee.
Well, she had a talent, and he used the talent. He used that talent quite well.
So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this because it's me, and it wouldn't be right if I didn't say it. But in the documentary, they made it come off like, oh yeah, Vince wanted this hot blonde referee. She was a lot of things, but hot was not one of them.
You sound like Trump. She's not my type.
Listen,
you sound like Trump.
Man, she wasn't it. So
Vince going around raping people and saying they're not his type after the fact.
So Vince McMahon said that it was consensual. He did say he said it was consensual. No, here. Oh, this is the great one here. Because I'm telling you, man, if y'all haven't watched this, and I hope we're doing it justice, and it's only going to get better. Please go back and watch, especially for this point that I'm about to read. Vince McMahon said that it was consensual and that the statute of limitations had run out.
So that right there lets you know it wasn't.
Oh, it gets better. Vince sued Rita and Geraldo because she went on Geraldo telling her story. So I don't remember that one, but yeah, obviously happened. The general consensus was nothing to see here when it came to the Chatterton case. So the federal. Oh man. Wait, no, that's okay. No, so that was that. At the end, I'll get to the statute that they went to for that because I ordered this wrong. So after the Chatterton case, he sued them, but the federal government then came back and indicted Vince on 3 counts to defraud the government on distributing steroids to his wrestlers. So the whole defrauding thing, what are they like? What are they really getting him on? Because steroids, are they saying because he's not paying taxes on it?
I don't know.
I think it was linked. It was linked to because I if I'm not mistaken, when it comes to the athletic commissions and how they work, it's local, state, then it's federal. I believe they were saying that they were getting over as far as the athletic commission was concerned. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah,
I think that was part. I think they brought that back around that time.
I'd be very interested to see because it was the whole thing about even like marijuana. Why it was so illegal? Why it was illegal? Because they couldn't tax it. Now they found a way to tax it. So, Kay Kaplovitz, the founder of the USA Network, said if Vince would have been found guilty, the WWF would have been off the air. I don't believe that one bit, because the contingency plan was to have Jerry Jarrett Jeff Jarrett's dad step right in and run the operation while Vince was in jail.
Yeah, but wouldn't the optics and everything going on be so toxic that USA Network probably wouldn't want to be a part of something like that?
Yeah, USA wouldn't have been able to recover from that. So I do believe it. They wouldn't have had a choice.
So, but okay, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I don't disagree. But you got this company on your TV that you hear the owner they got a ring boy scandal going on. You hear the owner having SA with one of his employees.
Unbelievable.
But the steroids is where we draw the line. Oh no, okay. And
when you say it like that, Trevor, when you say it like that.
Hold on. And at the same time, if I'm not mistaken, I'm almost sure about this. American Gladiators was also on the USA Network.
when you put it like that, Trevor, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard.
I mean, come on. So that's where we draw the line. Like, okay. You could do all the other stuff. You could do the ring boy stuff. You could do the SA, but you better not do the steroids.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, man.
Hey, man,
So
what's found? Hey, court of law. You know what I'm saying? Hey, let me say this real quick. I don't know what type of work Linda McMahon got done. She did not have a wrinkle in her face. I mean, she looked like like she looked like something out of a manufacturing plant. I said, "What the hell is going on with Linda McMahon?"
I'd like to check on her because she got to be the lowest self-esteem woman.
Yes.
In the history of the world to be married to a man like this, and I think they divorced now.
Yeah.
But they're separated.
Yeah. I don't think they put ink to paper yet, pen to paper. But to be married to a man like this that has all these scandals, not even the scandals like just the shit with the wrestlers, but I mean all these extramarital affairs.
Yep.
And he's so bold that he even played it out on TV
in front of her face
with his new crop of women.
Yep.
Bro, hey, my brother used to always say he messed with the fat girls because their self-esteem was low and he knew that he could do them any type of way. So I don't know, but so why
hey, I kind of disagree with that, man, because Linda got some pull, man, and I'm talking about in high floors, man, as far as the political arena. So
isn't
I mean,
isn't she like head of the
MD the only
FBA or something?
Well, she was in Trump's administration.
Yeah, but she tried to run 2 times and lost both times badly.
200 million, I think they lost on that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't even know why they were forcing the issue. She was never going to get elected.
Number. It was some gross number. I think I did it on like a This Week in Wrestling History. Like it was some gross number, man, some ridiculous number. So we got a couple more. While the steroid trial was going on, Hulk Hogan's popularity was fading. Hulk Hogan was starting to get booed. Hulk decided it was time for him to go enter Ted Turner and the WCW. So, what happened to my screen? Okay, so Hulk Hogan, while on the set of Thunder in Paradise, was approached by Eric Bischoff, and he eventually signed with WCW. Vince felt hurt and betrayed. Hogan stated that after he signed with WCW, he became the government's star witness. So now you're not employed with Vince anymore. So now we're going to get you. So we don't know if this is true or not, but Hogan said, so whenever you hear Hogan said, just pull your pants leg up because you're about to walk in some water. Hogan said that he was told if he didn't say what they wanted him to say, then the tables would be turned on him and he would be looking at 17 years in prison.
Well, that obviously didn't happen. So Hogan, man, I mean, The lies never stop. Hulk Hogan said he discovered Kevin Owens out of nowhere. Why is he even saying that?
Didn't he say he was like a guitarist for Van Halen or something like? Or,
yes.
No, or he was supposed to replace Axl Rose or some crazy.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Crazy. Actually, there's a video on YouTube about all the lies of Hulk Hogan.
There's more than a video. There's like a whole. It's like another subsection of YouTube. Like just so many of them.
So we all know that that Vince McMahon ended up being found not guilty. There's a famous shot of him with the neck brace on, and nothing. So they say so he legit had neck surgery, but it was a neck surgery that he could have put off. He didn't have to have it then, but everybody's saying that he did it to garner sympathy, to have the neck brace and see him in court, with the neck brace on, and then it kind of fades out. But the show kind of closes out, but I have some closing credit side notes. In 1994, I put 1194. In 1994, Vince McMahon withdrew his defamation lawsuit against Rita Chatterton and Geraldo. In 2023, during a temporary lift of the statute of limitations for alleged victims of SA offenses in New York State, McMahon paid a multi-million-dollar settlement to Chatterton. So in 2023, this happened in early 90s.
Yes.
And because Vince said the statutes of limitations was over, in 2023, they temporarily lifted the statute of limitations in New York for victims of SA. And Vince was like, oh, hell no.
That's probably because of the Me Too movement.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But he was like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and settle this. So he paid Chatterton a multi-million-dollar settlement. But it goes on to say Vince McMahon continues to deny any wrongdoing. Now we know paying a settlement isn't necessarily an admission of guilt, but he denied it for so many years. And the minute they remove the statute of limitations, he pays a settlement. To me, that means that there was a lot of validity to what he was saying. And Q, that happened in 2023. Q, the Janelle Grant stuff, which happened before they filmed this. So you're not going to get the Janelle Grant stuff in this, but it's literally history repeating itself. What Rita Chatterton accused him of, and then what you hear Janelle Grant accusing him of. I got my thoughts.
It wasn't a good year for Vince, like at all.
Yeah. They kicked him out of his company. They kicked him out of his company, and so that ends episode 2. Yeah, we did.
But also, Trevor, it is like a symbolic connection between how Vince McMahon used the neck brace as a symbolic sympathy tool, and another guy, they used a maxi pad on his ear as a symbolic tool. I'm just saying, we come full circle every time, man. These guys are like twins. These guys are
like best friends.
Yeah.
They're absolutely best friends. But man, we did hell. Had I not done the hour on something else, we would have been good. So it was a good time. All right. So 2 episodes per is great. Man, anything else you got to say? Anything else you guys want to put a bow on episode 2? Oh my goodness, bro. Vince McMahon.
The docuseries is just very compelling. You don't have to be a wrestling fan to get something out of it and to be entertained by it. But if you are definitely a wrestling fan and you know some of these things, you'll get like a great like storytelling of it, and you may even get additional nuggets of information you may not know, which makes it even more interesting to watch. I'm gonna watch it for a second time because you watch something, especially something like as long as this series. We're looking at like 6 hours worth of content here, so you may miss little things here and there. So I want to watch it again just in case I may have missed something from the initial viewing. But it's just great. And as you go on, it keeps getting greater and more information keeps coming. And it's just great overall. I employ anybody that hasn't seen it or was on the fence to watch it, just get it, watch it, man. It'd be worth your time. And it's very satisfying to watch because it's not a WWE produced documentary.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna catch episode 3 and 4 over the weekend so we can come back next Wednesday and talk about it. MD, anything else you want to add to this?
No, that's it, man. Like I said, I agree with Venkat. It's compelling. The way they put it together is definitely easy watching. But and you know, us being wrestling fans, like I said, it's some things that I feel like they should have covered, but I get why they didn't because it was in the flow of telling the story of Vince and some of the shadiness that that he was involved in through the years. Yeah, probably this weekend I'm probably gonna rewatch 3 and 4 just to have it in my mind so we can do it for next week.
Yeah, normally I would watch it. I would have just watched it all at one shot, but because we start doing this, it's hard for me to do that because as I'm watching it, I'm literally typing like notes at the same time. So is like I watch stuff totally different now. Even when I'm watching regular wrestling, it's hard because I'm not watching it anymore as a fan. I'm watching it as somebody that's trying to report on it. So it's kind of hard to sit there and try to take all those notes. That's why I decided to break it up like this, man. But hey, man, fantastic show, man. Especially the Tape Fist Politics at the beginning. And speaking of Tape Fist Politics, y'all make sure and check out last night's episode, man. Fantastic. Hey, whenever you can get curmudgeon Venkat, you're doing a good thing, man. So that's it for me, fellas, because we're gonna be right back here tomorrow night for a show with Eddie Israel. He's going to be doing a breakdown. And then Friday night, oh, my God, it's going to be a late night for me. I got a debate at 9 p.m. Friday night. And these guys are asking for like a lot of time per round. So I may not be getting off to after 11. So, hey, it's the life that I chose, man. But I appreciate, man.
Enjoy destroying lives.
They're gonna try to drive me. They're gonna try to drive me crazy. But yeah, man, I appreciate that, man. Y'all check out the other wrestling shows, man. Check out the MD20. He might be doing something tomorrow. I don't know. But y'all just subscribe just in case. And to the guys that's on my comment section from my take on black wrestlers. First of all, I say I appreciate you guys for dropping the comments. I appreciate you guys for watching it, but I've been watching wrestling since I was 5 years old, 1985, and I've never seen black wrestlers painted in a good light. It is absolutely getting better now. I will not sit here and say that it's not getting better, but just because something is getting better doesn't mean that it's great yet. Triple H, for all the good that he's done, he has grossly neglected the black male talent in WWE. And I'm not talking about NXT because it seems like everybody on NXT that's a champion is black. So fine, whatever. But on the main roster where the most people see it, the black talent are grossly being underutilized. And it was no more apparent than this past Monday Night Raw, where I watched Kofi get squashed. R-Truth wins a match in 60 seconds, then he gets squashed. You look at Carmelo Hayes, he can't win a match. He literally just gets pinned all the time. The only black talent that's getting a spotlight put on them in the WWE right now is the women. So there you go. Black women run everything. So I guess that's your trade.
Turns me on.
You're like, hey, shut your mouth, stop complaining. We're spotlighting the black women, but do better, Triple H. Triple H, you top my list in favorite wrestlers. I know I got confidence in you. If it was Vince McMahon, then absolutely not. I got confidence in you that you will do better. So that's my closing shots on that, man. Again, fellas, it's fantastic show. I really love this. I ain't eat dinner yet, and I'm starving, so I got to get out of here.
I enjoy.
Peace. Hell, I'll be sleeping on the damn highway. It looks like tonight because I'm in a wreck. So
man,
it's all good.
It turns me on.
Be safe out there, man. Hey, Ricardo, you saw that video? You saw that video that I sent you of Jade and Bianca in the Chucky outfits?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Man,
it just doesn't work for me, brother.
Man. Hey, MD, let me ask you, what you think about Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson?
They bad, man. They bad.
Oh, okay. All right.
Lash, man, she had Amazon, that's for sure.
Yes, Lord.
Man, you can't deny a present.
Man.
You cannot
and you know what?
Present.
And you know what? Lash Legend actually looked good in there against Jade and Bianca because Jade and Bianca is always so much bigger than their opponents. So it was good to see somebody that was bigger than them. I couldn't believe Lash is bigger than them actually throwing them around. The way she was throwing Jade around, I'm like, whoa, this looks really, really good. But again, WWE gave them, 2 minutes? The match ran 2 minutes. They ran a damn angle in between the match with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, which was great, but you don't do that with your black talent. It just looks bad. But again, I'm going to get off of it. I'm done. Fellas, I'm out of here, man. Peace.
Now the whole world can acknowledge me.
You'll get the shit. You'll be knee deep